It was a 2-week break for us, but
Yeah. Not for
we
you,
we
because we
doubled
made
up.
sure we took care of you, the viewer, like a
We
baby
wouldn't
in a bed.
we wouldn't do that to you, our
Yeah.
little bed babies.
Our little daddy-o babies.
We doubled up on episodes because I had to go to I had to go. I went to
I had
Mexico.
to.
I went
Why'd
on
you
a
have to
cruise.
go to Mexico? Were you subpoenaed
The
by the
sacrifices
Mexican
I make
government?
for you, the people.
We're like,
I
look,
was
Mexico,
doing
we're
another
gonna
cruise gig.
we're gonna send a lot of your people back, and they're like, that's fine. You give us one of your Glen
Yeah,
tickles, and
part of the
it
deal.
was like reverse ice.
Yeah, it it was the cruise was again nothing crazy to report. It's a nice time when you get to perform on cruise ships and sail around beautiful parts of the world. And uh the one thing I will say about doing cruise gigs is, so you know how you do a show somewhere, like a big show with a lot of people at it, so like not when you and I perform together, but maybe like you've done one
Or
of
on my
these
own.
on your own.
My
um
one little tidbit of a story this week is gonna be another example, possibly, of why Ricky Glore should stop doing comedy. But
Disagree.
that's
But like you do a big show and then you go to get dinner or something near the venue, and maybe a couple people from the show run into you and they're like, "Hey, great show." When you
yes,
do a cruise ship, it's that for a week. Cuz
yes,
again, I did 2 shows on this one. Last time I just did the one, but this was 2 shows the first night back to back, and then I was done for the week. So you go from headliner on the shows the first night of the ship to now you're just also a passenger. So I
yes.
would be walking around for like the rest of the time.
Your local celebrity, Glenn Tickle.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "Oh, hey, great show." Or like, "Oh, were you the comedian?" And I was like, "Yep." One cat was like,
Were you the comedian?
"Yeah."
Yup.
One guy, he's like, "Oh, hey, I just want to let you know I'm a big fan." I was like, "Thank you." He's like, "No, I mean like before the cruise." And I
Oh,
was like,
really?
"Oh,
Like,
really?" He's like,
do you
"I
think
didn't
he came on
know."
the cruise? Oh, he didn't know. Okay.
You
It was
know,
a
no,
good
because he
surprise.
didn't make it to the show. He's like, "I didn't know you were the He's like, "We had like a long day getting on
Yeah.
board and everything." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's completely understandable." He's like, "So I skipped the show and didn't realize it was you, or I would have like been there." I was like, "Oh, sorry." Um, it makes
Oh,
you feel any better. I
interesting
did
that
old
they did
stuff,
that
so
show the first night of, yeah, I would guess that the day that people board the ship would be either a travel day or the very early morning of a travel night. And so
yeah,
interesting having a show where people would
it's like the
possibly be at
welcome
their most
aboard show. It's
lethargic.
like
Okay, do you think of that in your mind space where you're like,
it's literally
maybe
called the
there may
welcome
be a,
aboard show.
like, is that first show on a Friday, there may be a little bit more lethargic kind of
Yeah,
vibe?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So the one I did to Alaska, it was just the one show.
Yeah. One and
This
done.
one, I don't know if it was a. I didn't get like a count for how many people were fit or were on this one.
You took that picture of that beautiful theater, right? Of like
Yeah,
the gold seats.
I did do that. It
If I had to,
was.
can I guess how many seats based on that picture?
You can guess.
Do you think I'll be right?
I have no idea. I don't know the answer. I'm
Oh,
bad
you
at
don't know the.
estimating.
You didn't
You can
ask.
say any
Why wouldn't you
number.
ask? Was it
I
filled?
I uh mostly
Oh, that's. I mean, I was gonna guess like 600.
maybe again. I didn't. I
Wait, so
didn't.
you're like bad at like the
I didn't
jelly
ask,
bean
and I'm
game? Like
genuinely
just
terrible.
like guess the amount of jelly beans in this jar?
Yeah.
You cannot do that. You can't fathom.
No. Oh, that because I know there's like a formula to it, like
Oh
jelly
yeah, of
beans.
course you
Like
do. Fucking nerd.
yeah, no that but like that's I can
This is
count
our new
them.
dynamic. Is I am a jock. I might be dumb as shit, but I'm gonna be confident in my
No,
dumbness.
because it's like get an estimate for one row across, one row up, and then it's just the area of a cylinder. But um I'm not good at like looking at an empty theater and being like, "Wow, 700 seats, incredible."
You could
But
do the same logic there. You could count a row
you
across.
can, but
You
it's
could
not
count up.
uniform. There's one row down the middle that gets the row in the front is fewer seats than the row
But
in the
you
back because it
said you
goes
could
like
not
this.
estimate.
Then
You could
there's
still use that
I
same
can't.
logic to
No,
estimate.
you can't because jelly beans in a jar, right?
The episode is called Jelly Beans in a Jar because it fits so well with where this is going.
Yeah, jelly beans in a jar, right? It's a cylinder. So one row on the bottom, you count across. You count roughly how many rows are going up, and then you do the area of a cylinder. That's how you win that game.
And you got married.
The
Like
theater,
someone in high school was like, I'm gonna think of one dick for the rest of my life, and it's
yeah.
Gwyneth
I'm gonna
Tickles
lock this one down.
with your
But
jelly bean in a jar theory.
but with
Oh,
like
I'm
the
sorry. I
Emmaus,
just said that as your daughter.
I had
comes
headphones.
walking.
It's fine.
Okay.
That's why I made sure I had headphones. So the
Because of
Emmaus
my
was like
foul mouth.
pretty much
Yeah.
even. It maybe the back rows are one or two
Yes,
seats wider,
it's pretty boxy.
but if you look at that picture, front row is, I don't know, 15
it
seats.
fans out.
Back row 30 seats. Like it's
Yes.
And then there's rows to the sides. There's 2 balconies. I can't count how many are up in the back. It's impossible to know.
Ooh,
There's
are
no
people on the
way of knowing
balcony?
how many. No one. It's not just me. No one knows how many seats
No
are in
one
that
knows.
theater.
No
It's
one
a
has
mystery
ever
forever.
counted.
But it was mostly full. But also, I got there early, right, to be backstage. And then when you go out and there's stage lights, it's like, oh, I can't actually see how many people are out there. It looked pretty full. There was a juggler.
A smuggler and a late night tuggler.
I'm gonna look him up real quick because he's tremendous, and I don't remember his name.
Because if he was awful, you'd been like, "There was this juggler. He was no good."
Oh yeah, no. If he was terrible, I'd been like, "Ugh, this juggler."
You know what I saw? So while you're looking that up, a bevy of on hotel television commercials was Rick Sellers, who we worked with, the voice of the general, and a bunch of new general commercials with the Shack. And I was just like, "Yep, there's that voice. We heard it in person."
Yeah,
It just like back to back general.
So I headlined the Welcome Aboard shows the first night,
Mhm.
and then juggler Albert Lucas has a lot of impressive credits. The one that he is most proud of, he says, is that he's been Dolly Parton's opening act for like a decade.
Oh wow!
And watching this guy, genuinely very impressive. And I just want to make super clear to everyone listening and watching at home, I am not being sarcastic. I'm not being like, oh yeah, this great juggler. No. I think juggling is an incredible skill.
Mhm.
And I think Albert Lucas was very, very good at it. I was very into the show. So was the audience, in a way that, like, so watching Albert Lucas, I was thinking I had good shows, right? Both months, everyone had a good time. The whole rest of the time I was on the ship, people are stopping me multiple times a day, tell me they had a great time. I have recordings. The shows went well. There is no way that people were 5% as engaged as they were watching Albert Lucas do plate spinning, because he does a thing where he's got he stands and he tries to get 13 going at once, and it's the most engaged I've seen an audience at probably anything.
It's hypnotic. It's go back to the Ed Sullivan show. Like, people were watching.
You know who the youngest
TVs
person to
that.
appear on the Ed Sullivan show was? Albert Lucas.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
He was on. He was
on the Ed Sullivan
alive.
show. He was, I believe,
shit.
10 in the clip that he showed. His father, an acrobat, was also appeared on the Ed Sullivan show.
Wow. I mean, Ed Sullivan, notorious piece of shit.
Yeah.
Let's just put that out there.
Also distant relative, so watch your fucking mouth.
We've already talked about this. Ed Sullivan.
I mean, I have close relatives.
I'm not saying Charlie Chaplin.
I have close relatives who kind of pieces of shit. You can say whatever you want about my grandma's third cousin or whatever. I don't remember how I'm actually related to Ed Sullivan.
Probably did something shitty, and then he probably weaseled
my grandma. I mean, maybe. It was a long time ago.
No, not Nana Tickle.
Yeah.
Nana Tickle. Okay. But yes, so that is, people love it. I love it. It's hypnotic, it's rhythmic. There's something that is death defying, even though it's NASCAR. Like, you're just like,
so I have
friends, the pin gonna drop?
Yeah. So friends of mine toured as an act called the Danger Circus, where one of them is a
Great name.
juggler, one of them is a magician, and one of them does like circus sideshow acts.
Like fire breathing and
He
like
does
sword
fire
swallowing.
eating. He will stand on a big old carpet of broken glass,
Okay.
human blockhead, all that stuff. Where like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
hook of the show when they were doing it was like, we are doing all of the dangerous parts of these jobs.
Yeah.
Um, like the jugglers juggling chainsaws,
Yes.
that kind of stuff.
It's that level of something could happen. Danger. I mean, them calling it danger.
Yeah,
It's that level of
and
danger.
some of it, like there's a trick to some of it.
Oh, obviously Spider-Man. Pull that up, Glenn.
I believe
I learn new tickle lore every episode. How is Ed Sullivan involved now? That's an old. You haven't been
I
listening
believe
since
this
the
is my
beginning,
nephew.
obviously, Spider-Man.
Shout out to
Oh, is it?
fellow distant Ed Sullivan relative. So my grandmother on my dad's side, her maiden name was Sullivan. So you think, oh, whatever, coincidence. But years ago, my dad did the like middle-aged dad thing of like starting to do genealogy or
Who am
whatever.
I?
And
Where did I come from?
during that, found out we are distantly related to Edsel. I don't remember exactly how, but that is the connection. But so my friends in the Danger Circus, like some of it is a trick, right? Like the
Yes.
thing, if you watch, somebody hold an apple in their mouth and they let a
Magic.
member of the audience,
Yeah.
or no, they put like an apple in the mouth of a member of the audience and they use a chainsaw to like cut an X in the apple. The chainsaw doesn't have a chain in it. It's just,
Yeah.
it's on and vibrating, and metal is sharp enough to still
Mhm.
cut an axe in an axe. Like it's appears very dangerous,
It's
is
not
less
very
dangerous than it
yes.
appears. But if you poke somebody in the mouth with a chainsaw,
Which is vibrating, it will do the
gonna
same
hurt
thing
them.
that it just did to the
Like,
apple.
yes.
But again, not as
But you're not going to
dangerous.
Leatherface
Yeah.
them. So some of it is like, oh, there's a trick to this, but it is still a little dangerous. Like if you juggle knives, a thing that I do that my wife complains
And the
about.
level of danger, it is probably slightly higher than bowling pins, but maybe not by as much as you would think.
Right.
On the
Part of
percentage
what
scale.
makes it safe is the level of skill at play,
This is bizarre. 2 days ago, I started filming a series of commercials for the state of Kentucky, 811 commercials, where I played a baseball coach. And so the first day of filming, we were in this backyard. It set up like a diamond, and I had two kids playing my sons, and they gave me two baseballs to like whip at them, and not whip at them, but like for ground balls.
Egg children with babies.
Yeah, and I'm like, what are these? Wait, what is the? What kind of commercials are these? I don't know if I would have. Yeah, like, oh no, this is a series of commercials for the state of Kentucky about abusive parents. Like, but no, I was doing like ground balls, and that was the part of the whole scene. And holding the two baseballs, I was like, you know what? Maybe for like a year, I need to give myself a goal. Like, I think juggling. And this just goes, I think, even more with the Steve Martin thing. But I said it out loud to the guys. I was like, I would love to know how to
next
just.
Daddy-O show.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've got enough hand-eye coordination that I could.
I
don't know how I'd use it, but that Steve
I
Martin
didn't
thing
realize
is like,
that
if I learn it.
That the other headliner on the ship was
a juggler,
a professional juggler, because I have a line in my act where I refer
a
to
pretty famous juggler. It sounds like
where I say I juggle at a semi-professional level.
Yeah,
which I believe is true. Like I'm a little out of practice, but if Albert Lucas
if he like
heard me say that and he's like, all right, let's go.
Challenge.
And then we had like a juggle off, I would get humiliated. But if an audience member
wait. If I see a sign that says tonight on the ship, juggle off, and it like doesn't explain it, I'm like, is this a fight against juggalos?
Yep.
Is this a dirty thing? Is this a dirty thing? Or is this like how many things do you get through in your brain if you see juggle off?
I immediately go to two people competitively juggling at one another.
Okay. Oh, okay. Not hand
But
stuff. All right. Well, different hand stuff.
right, because I can juggle 3 of pretty much anything you hand me.
Really?
Yeah, I can.
Has to be same weight, identical.
No, it
Oh,
helps.
okay.
The less similar they are, the harder it is. Like if you
Yeah.
have an egg and a
That's why I'm
bowling
asking.
ball and a
That's why I'm
Rubik's
asking.
cube, like
But you could do it.
I could do it.
Okay.
The heavier stuff is now a problem just because of like my many physical ailments. But because the thing is, like my friend Chuck is a professional juggler. You wouldn't. He's lithe, so like you wouldn't really think unless you catch him with his shirt off.
Yeah.
But dude is jacked as all hell. Like he could
Sure.
rip you in half, and it's because he spends a lot of time balancing upside down on stuff or
Yeah.
like juggling 3 very heavy things.
Like these nuts.
Like these nuts. And I am not that. I don't know how much of me is. I'm not. It's juggling is a more physical act than a lot of people realize.
I got concerned.
But
at
when I attended bar, I used
Yeah.
to juggle behind the bar.
Oh, you
Not
cocktailed?
not
Have
in
we talked
like I
about
didn't do
this?
bottles because
Okay.
I would get fired.
I think we briefly talked about this on our Florida trip.
That I used to be a bartender.
Maybe did Kokomo come on like my playlist or something? You're like, oh
Probably,
fuck this
dork.
song, and you're like, I used to cocktail, and I was like,
well, no, like I didn't do bottles and stuff because I was explicitly told I would get fired. But
there's no cocktailing here.
I would do like there was fruit behind the bar. You know, I would like juggle lemons or whatever. And then if my manager wasn't around, I would juggle a lemon and 2 knives. And then the big finish was you throw the lemon up, grab a knife, cut it in half.
Yeah.
Midair.
You could do that.
Yeah.
You
was
amaze me.
repeatedly told, don't do that.
Stop doing that.
Stop.
Stop swinging a blade, a very sharp blade, a blade sharp.
Well, I would just use like the dinky little steak knives.
No,
so like
you didn't even know the level of sharpness.
It's serrated, so that did most of the work. But I would also they would do like they had cakes, but they made them in a big sheet, and there was a big like 3-foot long cake knife that they would just rather than take one knife and drag it, just one big long knife and boop boop boop.
Yes,
and cut it that way.
Yes.
I did juggle that a couple of times,
Jeez.
and even the cooks were like, "That is so dangerous. Do not do that. Is so sharp." Everything, like if I did the lemon thing, they're like, "Yeah, cut the lemon."
Yeah.
But when I would do that, they're like, "We're worried about you."
Because that is what that part of that buy-in is for what works so well is with the magic trick of those people that.
Like if you're juggling a cheap restaurant steak knife and you happen to like mess up and catch the blade, you might cut yourself a little bit. If you mess up a 3-foot long, very sharp cape knife and happen to grab the blade, you might lose a fingy. A fingy might be gone.
Yeah, you should, if you're going to be doing objects that are like that, they should be very much made for the sporting event. They should just not be random Applebee's, wherever you were bartending.
Ruby Tuesday.
Well, I was not far off.
Yeah, please.
My brother worked at Ruby Tuesdays too.
I hated it. It was the least favorite job I've ever had. I'm glad that it closed.
A little bit older than me in this scenario of 1-to-1 of how different you and I are, because you were bartending. So you had to be what? How old? Oh, read it.
Oh, just my nephew says a horse walks into a bar and says, "Glen Tickle, I didn't know you were a bartender." And Glen Tickle was shocked. He was a talking horse, talking to a horse.
I'm trying to. What? I think there's a better punchline there.
Stop.
What is
rubbing paper on my neck?
Paper cuts.
I have a note for my 7-year-old. Stop juggling knives. Okay, sweetie,
because she can hear you.
Yeah.
She cannot hear me.
And I think she has tape all over her face, Pee Wee Herman style.
Gosh, I love it. Yes, please. So your story is how old were you when you were bartending? Because in Kentucky you could be 19 in a day.
No, I was in my
25.
20s.
So you did that, something that is death. I mean, not death defying, but like it's not safe and kind of stupid, but impressive, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of athleticism there as well. When working at Long John Silver's, what
Ahoy.
I would do that was stupid and to pass the time. This is just one of many things, but I
Just
think it is
reach
my
your hand into
dumbest.
the fryer.
Ooh, we had a game like that, but that doesn't make us look good though, because we did it to new employees. It makes us look a little frat boy. Um,
Savages.
yeah,
Savages in
well,
this
it was
town.
more of a prank of like, you don't do this, you don't reach into the fryer. So we kind of gauged the level of intelligence of the new employee to see if they would do it.
Yeah.
And one guy was just like, yep. And we were like, no, 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 no. He was like, we're like, you don't reach into the fryer. He's like, then why would you ask me to? We're like, sorry, sorry, guy. He didn't last long. Not in the world. I don't know. He's could be
I mean,
alive.
probably not, honestly.
But the dumb thing I did was out of boredom was because it's Long John Silver's, I built a pirate ship out of a couple of the fry boats that we had and
Sure.
the corn skewers and the little plastic wax paper corn holders, and made a little pirate ship in the corn warmer. And I was like, huh, I wonder how strong this pirate ship is sitting in this corn warmer water. And so then I put the restaurant's cordless phone in it, and it immediately sank. And I was like, guess not
Not
too
very.
strong. And the manager at the time, she was like maybe like 3 years older than me. She's just like, the phone doesn't work, Ricky. What were you doing? I was like,
Why does it smell like corn, Ricky? What
what? It
happened?
smelled like corn water. Yeah, which is very akin to like hot dog water. And I was just like, well, I just wanted to see if it would float in this boat. It didn't. And she's just like, oh. So the next day, Tom, our GM, goes to use the phone and it's broke.
Yeah.
And he blames it on the bosses from the night before who asked me what happened, her sister, because she was constantly on the phone. He's like, I knew it was her. She's always on that phone and she broke it. And so, like, he called her in and reamed her out for basically breaking the phone. And then her older sister, who was my boss, had to come in and be like, Ricky broke it. He's like, how did Ricky break it? He tried to see if it
He
would
built an
float.
elaborate boat of trash.
And he was just like, oh, God, Ricky. He's like, you're such an idiot. And I'm just like, I know.
I know
But
I
I
am.
was like 18 or 17
I know what I
at the
am.
time.
I never
Yeah.
claimed to be.
God made me this way. I didn't choose to have these powers.
All right, here's the theme song.
Yes.
Summertime can't stop the flow of comedy, creativity pouring out of these daddy-o. So sit back, enjoy the show. Now it's time for Daddy-o. Classic!
Why did it say classic at the end?
I have my reasons.
All right.
I love that you.
I was trying to.
You had a level of interest. Why does it say classic? I had my reasons. You were like,
Good enough.
all right, good enough.
I was trying to remember what that sounded. There's a singer that sounded like.
Yes. The inspiration was kind of like Japanimation, like happy, like kid.
Yeah, it was
TV show.
specifically. It was like a little girl in an anime singing a thing, and I don't remember what one that it made me
Yes.
think of.
Yes.
I don't watch a ton of anime. It's been a couple weeks since I brought up how good Dr. Stone is, but it's because they stopped making new episodes, and I'm waiting
Okay.
for the second half of the last season to drop. But I like it a lot. Anyway, so the main theme of this week, besides I'm back from Mexico, performing on cruise ships, remains a pretty good time. The flight home was longer, but less eventful than when they flew me to the wrong airport. So exhausting. I got home. The flight landed at like 1:30 in the morning, and then I had to drive home, so that was less than ideal. But other than still not liking to fly, it was fine. But it came up a little bit on our episodes with Chuck Tingle and Hannah. Um, I wasn't going to bring it up because I got the results from my autism assessment. We already had the Chuck Tingle thing booked, and then we booked the one with Hannah on the same day. And it's like, oh, I feel like this is probably better suited for when we don't have a guest, so I'm not just rambling about autism at a stranger. I'm instead going to do it at you.
But it also supports what you know what you know to be true
Yeah.
by
But it
you
also
being
came
like,
up. Like, I didn't bring it
came
up.
up. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Chuck brought it up. Hannah
Yeah,
brought it up. And I
yeah.
was like, oh, well, since we're talking about this anyway. But I might be wrong. I don't think I spent a lot of time talking about it.
You
on
may
either
be
episode.
right. I may be
I
crazy.
may be crazy. But I've been talking about it for about as long as we've been doing this show. Believe myself to be autistic, got an assessment, got the results of that assessment.
Hey, everybody, we're going to put up a Daddy-O poll. We're going to ask you, do you think Glen is autistic?
Well, I put
it's a yes or no question, so no peanut gallery.
I got the results. I think it was the week before we recorded with Chuck, because I did a show that night, and was mad about it, and then stayed mad about it. I did an interview on Punching Up with Ren Q Daw, and I talked about it with him. And the point of that show is, you talk about, the idea of punching up versus punching down, or like improving jokes. And it's if you should give it a listen. It is in the way that, like, I've talked about enjoying Hot Breath, the podcast, as look, I love listening to Mark Maron talk to famous comedians as much as anybody, but
it's not your world.
You're only going to get so much out of that. If you want like practical,
it's the Jesselman comment.
Yeah,
it's the Jesselman comment of like, I don't want to sell merch anymore after shows, so I put up a QR code and that's working well. It's like, you can do that.
If you're an open micer, you're 2 years into comedy, that's not helpful for you.
No.
But Hot Breath is really good at that kind of advice of like, oh, when you're starting out, try doing this. Like, this might help you.
I think we're good for that.
I think we are.
I don't think it's our primary objective. Our primary objective is ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's been true of me my entire life. But then also Punching Up, Ren's show is incredible at that, because Ren is a real skill of like your best friend who you love, Mike Birbiglia. His show, when he started doing the podcast during the pandemic, was premised on like, oh, we'll like talk out bits because we can't do shows right now.
Yeah, and one of his earlier episodes, I wish I could remember the comedian's name, blew me away because I didn't know who it was. And usually, I think because it was pandemic, I was definitely listening to being a completist. But it was fantastic. I need to go back. Because one of those earlier ones was really more a back and forth of working.
Yeah, and it's gotten away from that, I think, largely, and is now just like any other two famous comedians talking to each other podcast. And then also sometimes he brings Nazis on and he's like, give him a chance. But Ren is, besides not to try to hype Ren Q up too much.
No,
I think he deserves it. He's great. But
final thing that I'll say for that is, I think he's doing, he is doing what the question is when comedians are like, or when people are just like, oh, you can't joke about anything anymore. It's like, great. You know what? Here's the answer to that question. Punching up. Would you like to punch up, or would you like to punch down?
Yes, it is a great show. And I did that, I think maybe the Tuesday after getting the results of my assessment. And, you chat for a bit about, starting out in comedy, what you're doing now. And then the bulk of it is like, do you have anything you're working on that you'd like, some help with? And Ren is so good at giving that help in a way that I am not. If like you're trying to think of a bit and you're like, Glenn, what do you think of this? I can tell you if I like it or not. I can tell you how I would approach that topic on stage, but I can't be like, well, what I think you should do is this. And here's what really works about. Ren is incredible at that. So when he was like, oh, is there anything you're working on? I was like, kind of, it is, I don't have a joke about this yet. I got my, I've spent months and months trying to get this autism assessment. I got the results and they told me that I'm not autistic, and I find that so unacceptable. And so we talked about it. I don't think the episode's out yet, but I'm looking forward to hearing it. Ren took a bunch of notes while I was talking it out and sent me those, and it's so genuinely helpful. Um, but long story short, I got the assessment.
That's a
When I got
special skill, though, to be able to do that, to take
Yeah.
notes while having a conversation.
We should have Ren on at some point because I met him
Yep.
at the Finger Lakes Comedy Festival in a very crowded green room because it was a festival, so there's like a lot of people on the show, and then you get a couple people from the last show hanging around, and a couple people are early for the next show. So
Yeah.
there's like 20 people in a green room, but then there was a second green room, so I went in there.
There's a second green room.
Thinking like, well, like just space out. We don't all need to be in one group.
Yes.
But I was headlining the show I was on.
You were not making a conscious decision to be like, Daddy-O needs his space.
I was worried that that's what people thought.
Yeah.
I thought when I went in the other room, people would be like, oh, there's another room. Let's go in there. So I met Ren very briefly in this very crowded room and then couldn't stand to be in the room anymore. So I went in the other room, and then I was like, oh, everyone here is going to think I'm the biggest dick, but also I really don't want to be in that room with 20 other people.
So your options are, I can literally pop my head in the doorway there and say, hey, y'all, I'm not being dick. I just felt like if we got another room, maybe we could spread out.
I would like dip in purposefully to try to not seem like a jerk. Yeah. And I would like mention, I was like, oh, there's like there's more seats and stuff because there's like 5 chairs, and then everybody's like, it's like there's more seats in the other one. If anybody wants,
people in that room could start building the narrative of being like, wait, is there just one person in here he doesn't want in that other room? And this is
there were like 4 or 5 that if they tried to go in the good green room, I would have been like, oh, hey, actually.
Oh, you dubbed it because now Glenn has put his little flag in it. It's now the good green room.
Well, part of it was like, I didn't know anyone before this show, except for Chris, the guy running the festival, who Chris Myrie runs the Finger Lakes Comedy Festival, Too Funny Entertainment. We'll have him on at some point. I knew him, but he's like running around.
Everybody's going to be on.
Everybody's coming on
with us. Yeah.
He's running around doing festival stuff, so he's not like hanging out. I meet Ren. When Ren introduced himself, he's like, I'm Ren, like Ren and Stimpy. And I was like, oh, you're my best friend here now. I'm like, that's and then I would like walk out and kind of watch the show from the wings and then see like, oh, a lot of these people are actually kind of rough. There was one old guy who was like really hyping himself up, talking about all the festivals he's done, how good he is. And then he bombed so hard in a way that like, it's like, you just truly don't understand the situation you're in. Cause he was an old white conservative man, which fine. I mean, not fine, but they exist in the comedy world, you know? Like you can make that work on stage, not to great success, but he was bombing in a way that was impressive how little the audience wanted him to keep talking. And then when he came back to the green room, had no level of self-reflection that maybe the problem is him.
He recognized that it did not.
He recognized it went poorly.
Okay, that's like, that's a one good step.
But he's like, I don't understand what was wrong with that audience. And everyone who saw were like, something wrong with the audience, you say?
Not your rhetoric.
Not the fact that your jokes and delivery, stage presence, the way you're dressed, like everything about this man's performance was incorrect. But he was the worst one.
Not only says superior friend Glen Tickle, but other people clearly share.
I was not alone. And I'm not going to say Ren specifically, like, but other comics and I were like, doing like office look away at the camera looks
Yeah.
at each other while this guy's like, oh man, that audience was just, and we're like, it's not the audience. The audience
Yeah.
was fine. It is you. You are the problem.
Usually when I go to rallies, they love me.
But it's the thing of like, uh, none of it was working. And it's like, dog, I don't know what you think you were doing up there, but it wasn't good. Um,
Shit.
but then some of the other
that's been
comics
like
were
my
just
last
like
3 shows.
younger, newer comics who are just kind of doing stuff that I didn't enjoy, where it's less like, hey, you
Yeah.
need to stop. Like, you should genuinely consider getting out of the game. It's just like, oh, hey, no, there's an audience for what you're doing, right?
Or
Like,
get through this phase or fine tune the edges of whatever this is.
I forget his name. One cat was doing a lot of my kids still within earshot. So like adult video content
Oh yeah, yeah.
themed material.
Gotcha.
And it's like,
Corn.
well, yes.
He was talking about corn.
And it's like, well, I don't love this, but there's better versions of this that you could probably get me on board with, right?
Yeah.
Or you can just don't worry about me, just find the audience that likes what you're doing.
So I will say this.
The old
that is
racist
the
guy,
one...
though, it's just like, dog, other racists
well, he's just being
don't like
sexist
this.
and
Like,
racist.
yeah, it's like you're losing everybody.
It's
You
just
should
also it's just
back
not
in.
fun. Like, not only like you're actually presenting it poorly. Like, it's not...
That's the thing, is like
Yeah.
part at a base level, I was like, oh, I disagree with this man politically, so I don't
Mhm.
want to like his comedy. But it was like a fairly old, pretty conservative looking white audience for the most part. And it's like, these should be your people, man. Like, you should
These
be doing
should
better.
be your people.
But your jokes are bad. Like, they are poorly constructed and badly delivered. Like, it is
So-
not just, oh, I disagree with him. It's like, no, the art you are presenting is done in such a low level amateurish way that even the people who agree with you politically think the jokes that you're making are bad, because they are. I
When
wish I
thinking
knew that
about-
dude's name, because I would call him out in a second.
He
Genuinely
the
so.
Albert Lucas. You're like, here's the
The
opposite. End of
opposite.
the yeah, this is we really spectrumed on
Yeah,
this episode.
I'm calling out Albert Lucas by name because he's incredible.
But so I think just a quick stand-up comedy thing is thinking of topics that aren't just that are span a wider demographic when you are someone who is a dad and talks about the wife, being a father, being a dad, being a husband, having
Yeah.
children. You talk about more things than that, but like I have very actively have been thinking of like, well, what are unique subjects that aren't just like, oh, that guy, don't go see him, he's for old people. Like, I literally
Yeah.
would like to have people that
Well-
think whatever I'm doing, like 20-year-olds. So corn is one of those subjects, but as we've talked about before, I think primarily the people you're getting on board in the audience is the women, and like they don't really want to hear you talk about, like, they don't want, like, yeah, and none of the guys are gonna be like, like some of them will be, but they don't, that's not the people you want in your audience.
And so we did, me and that guy, not the old guy, the young guy,
Yeah.
did 2 shows together that night, and his big closer worked both times, but one was like a theater show that had a pretty light audience, and they were like skewed kind of older. So, he got a reaction. It didn't like burn the theater down.
Yeah.
But the late night bar show went over like gangbusters. He could have
because people are loosened up. Yeah.
He could have crowd surfed out of that room. So I'm not going to be like, oh, hey kid, here's what you're doing wrong. It's like, we're not like, yeah, they love what you just did. I didn't care for it, but on like a taste level, it's not like, this sucks. Except for the one thing was like the construction of it was like, there's this elaborate premise that he's like reading comments on some of the videos, but then the big reveal is like, well, he wrote the comments, and it's like, so you just wanted to read this insane thing that you wrote, but
you're very proud of. Yeah.
You're presenting it as like, well, you found it, so that makes it interesting, but because you wrote it, I'm honestly not interested anymore.
Yeah.
Um, it is, but again, like inarguably, that the bar crowd loved it. So,
That's I mean,
um,
I've had a like I grew up and I've told a story, like personal story of like the porn that I grew up on was the VHS, and like my dad had a cabinet that had kind of like softcore
mhm.
porn, like Alyssa Milano movies or like Drew Barrymore and Poison Ivy, like Wild Things was in this cabinet. But then he also had on recorded like 4 porn classic 70s movies on one tape to economize.
Was it a branded collection of like for the classics? Like how if you go to
I mean,
Walmart, it'll be like
it was
five
like Debbie
comedy
Does
classics,
Dallas,
and it's like
Taboo, but then like Taboo 3, it doesn't have Taboo 2 on it
yeah,
because a different distributor made that one. But yeah, and so I've talked about that, and I was just like, man, I was like sharing tapes with my friends, and then I think it was one time while we were talking about because they when you talk about like porn cinema, like Deep Throat and those movies, they did have a story. They were bad comedy movies or espionage movies
yeah.
or detective movies with sex and bad actors that did not present the lines very well. But one of my friends is just we were talking about all the different movies and all the different actresses and stuff and their names, which is funny too. Someone was like, "Has anybody ever thought about how many of them are dead?" And we were just like, "No." And then we were all like, huh. And it was from that moment on, I think all of us lost interest. And like, luckily the internet like was getting better with
You
porn.
know,
We were
but
like,
that's
I don't want
true
to
of
jerk off to dead people anymore.
regular actors too, right? Like if you watch Casablanca, I've got some bad news for you, bud.
But I'm not jerking off to Casablanca.
Oh, see, I am.
Play it, Sam. Play it like you did for.
You played it for her, you can play it for me.
No, I don't want to. It was a different situation. It was a different time. I needed the money.
Yes. So anyway,
Bogart in his wooden
I
teeth.
got far afield talking about that festival and Ren, but go check out Punching Up. I don't
Yeah.
think my episode's out yet, but just check in with any of them because again, when I saw him post about it and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And I started listening, and I don't think he's talked to a single person that I know yet in any of the episodes that I've listened to, but they're all genuinely interesting and like I'm getting a lot out of it.
Subject matter, just right off the bat, I'm hooked into it. I love the
Yeah.
I don't always love a like what we just talked about, working it out. How it has probably for sustainability sake, so they could have more guests, has morphed and changed.
Yeah.
But I like the premise that his
Well, because I
podcast
talked
is a
about
straightforward premise.
I think I talked about it on here back when I was one of the rounds I was teaching, because I always tell the students, I was like, hey, we're gonna go over writing exercises and stuff that like I wouldn't use if
Mhm.
I'm writing. Like this isn't how I do it, but like I've been doing this for 15 years and you're just starting. So like you
Right.
should do it this way. Don't do it like I do it. And I've said
Here
that
are the rules. Now here is how you skew the rules to blah, blah, blah.
I've been saying that the whole time I've been teaching the class for years and years. Of just like, don't do it like me. And then finally, the last time I did the class, someone's like, well, how do you do it? You keep telling us not to do it that way, but you haven't said what it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then like I made a little slideshow explaining how I write, which is just like literally something in my life that I think is interesting happens. I make a little note. And I was like,
12 children. I sacrifice them to the Dark Lord Cthulhu.
it's just like, oh, that's interesting. And then I make a little note. And then when I go do a show, I look in that notes app file to see what did I think was interesting. And then if I'm doing an hour show, I'm going to open with, 15 minutes of stuff I know is going to work. I will try to see if I can, if the audience on my side, let me see if I can get away with some new stuff. I'll do that for a little bit. And then I will end on stuff that I know works. Because I like talking out an idea rather than like sitting there with a pen and paper being like, all right, so I was on the cruise in Mexico and then this happened. And all right, well, what would it be if I write it this? I hate doing that. It makes it my job feel like homework and then I don't want to do it anymore.
Well,
I would rather.
There's a level of authenticity that you are getting closer to the first time you do it if you are just bringing it up as a thought
Yeah.
because you know
Because
how to talk.
a lot of stand up is we are trying to present things as if they are ideas we are having in the moment, even though most
Yeah.
people understand that is not really the case.
You
But
say that. You say that. In my experience, a lot of people like it's
oh, I know
fitty
like
fitty.
rubes,
I
but
mean,
like comedy fans know like that's not what we're doing. But if you can do it for real, if you're like, "Oh, hey, look, I've been talking for 20 minutes. You guys are on my
mhm.
side. You clearly are having a good time. Let me just this just happened." And so I did the show Friday night
Do
after
you
it
feel
being
the need? You
the
feel
Need
the
for
need
Speed.
that for that safety net to like
I
set
would
the
rather do it.
expectation you lower the bar because you're being like, hey everyone, I'm gonna lower the
Oh, no,
bar
no, no.
here, and this is something that just
No.
had
I
like
would
something
rather have
new
the
or
safety net of doing it later in a set where
without
they're already on my
acknowledging it.
side. But also if I'm just going, if I have a new bit I want to try, I'll just go to an
Yeah,
open mic and just do the bit. You know, like
without any chunking of like being like, here's one joke that works. Here's you will
yeah.
just do
If
the
I'm
bit.
just doing a set at like an open mic, I don't care about that.
Okay,
But I don't do those a lot, and I do a lot
right.
of like, mostly the corporate shows that I do, or like the cruise ship gigs lately, where it's like, yeah, they don't super want me to be working out new bits up there.
Yeah,
They're like, hey,
bring the classics.
just play the hits, man. And honestly, I thought that would bother me more. Um, it's it genuinely does make the whole thing feel more like a vacation for
Mm,
me, of just like, I'm just gonna go do stuff from the dry bar set. I'm gonna end by making them yell at Dan Huff. It's gonna be fun. They're all gonna have a great time.
hmm
I don't have to be like, oh God, what? Now, there's so far I've just done one set. Like I did the one show in Alaska, two shows back to back, but basically the same set, not word for word because of the ADHD.
hmm
That is an impossible ask for me. But um, there could be cases where I'm doing a number of different sets. In that case, it's like, well, I need to make sure I'm not overlapping because they really do want them to be different.
hmm
Um, then it's a little bit more like, all right, this is like workier than it's just like, hey, you need to do 25 minutes of stand up comedy in front of people that have been drinking since 2 in the afternoon
When
when
you
they got
take the
on the
stresses,
boat.
when you take any stress of expectations of self or thoughts that expectations that the audience might have, when you remove those and then you can not be in your own head about a stress or a thought that you're having, whether thinking what they're thinking or what yourself is thinking of like, well, I got to work this thing and I want to do it right. I don't want to
Yeah.
forget it. I want to make blah 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 blah. When you take that away, I think that's when you're much more apt to recognize, oh, I'm making how much for 25 minutes of work?
Yeah.
Like, poof, like
It's
you fools.
it's the thing of again, like I don't know a lot of sports things, but it's like, yeah, if you're watching a baseball game and like it's really intense and like, your team is maybe down a couple points and you're really invested in watching, like, oh man, I hope this guy hits a home run. And you're
Mhm,
like invested in a way that you're maybe not every time you watch a baseball event. But then like it's also sometimes fun to just go watch a home run derby of just
mhm.
like, we're just gonna watch these guys hit the ball so goddamn far. It doesn't matter. They're
Because
just gonna do it.
ultimately,
It's
we're
just
all
gonna be
agreeing
fun.
this is our favorite part.
Yeah. And it's so doing these cruise ship gigs, it's like it doesn't matter if I'm doing old jokes. It doesn't matter how
Mhm,
many times I've done these jokes. I can just do the ones that I know work and just make it be a fun thing. I've worked some of the newer stuff in, especially because like people bring their kids to the Welcome Aboard show, which is genuinely why I think I got the gig,
hmm,
because not just like, oh, you need to be clean.
yeah,
It's like the children need to be entertained as well. And I have so many jokes about having been a substitute teacher,
yeah.
and jokes about my own kids, and getting to do the Mr. T thing.
Children understand the word tickle.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, oh, this guy's doing jokes about having a silly name. Children will laugh. And it's of the people who kept coming up to say that they liked the show, that included children.
Mm-hmm.
There was like one kid who's probably 11 who like kept running into me and he would tell me a joke every time. And I was like,
Oh, that's
I love
awesome.
this for you, little man.
Yeah.
Please go into any other
Keep
career.
going.
But I love this. It genuinely like
No,
felt
you
nice.
should have went back. You should have reached into your satchel, handed him a notepad and a pen, and you're just like, write these down, my man. It's called a set list.
Yeah. I mean, he's just throwing little kid street jokes at me, you know?
Yeah. That's how you start. Just, I mean, if the Steve Martin documentary taught us anything,
Yeah.
it was you rip off some people until you find your own voice.
But you've seen me like the thing where I do the intro to the A Team. If you
Yeah.
can do that to a 7-year-old,
if you can do that to a 7-year-old.
well, because part of the joke is like Mr. T has not been that famous for quite some time.
Yes.
It's weird that I bring him up. And part of the joke becomes like, oh, I have to remind people who Mr. T is because like a 19-year-old might not know. A 7-year-old's definitely not going to know. My 7-year-old knows because I talk about him all the time.
Yeah.
But if there's like both times, there was like I think the first show he was 7, the second show was a 9-year-old kid sitting in the front row where I start talking about Mr. T. You check in with that kid and be like, hey, just real quick, do you know who I'm talking about? And they're like, no, I'm 7, man. It's like, okay, well, in 1972, a crack commando unit. And then that doing the A-Team thing works. I mean, I'm not going to say every time, but it is a reliable bit for me now. But people react so much harder when you're explaining it to a literal child.
Yes.
So it's like, oh, doing it on the cruise ships is now my favorite place to do
psychologically multiple reasons.
Yeah. They're like getting reminded about it and then but they're like, oh yeah, he's right. There's no way this little 7-year-old is gonna know who he's talking about.
Yeah.
But all right, back to the autism thing. So I got my assessment and the results, great news, guys. I'm not autistic.
Thank God.
Oh, I know
now
we're
you
all
can
so worried.
stop talking about
I can
it
never
and stop
bring
being
it up
like God
again.
has punished me. I'm a broken physical. Now I am broken neurologically.
Now, look, I want to be clear. This process wasn't my goal was not get an autism assessment. It genuinely came out of people in my life that I care about got diagnosed with autism. I realized I don't actually know that much about it. Let me do some research on behalf of these people that I love. And then in the research, I kept seeing things where it's like, well, that's not an autism trait. I do that all the time. And then you do that 10 times and you're like, oh, okay.
It's the Cosmopolitan in a rom-com. It's like, how to know if your boyfriend's cheating on you. And you're like, but I've answered yes to all of these. Oh, no.
Oh, no. Right. But it's like,
I have autism.
Oh, you know, they'll get like hyper fixated on a piece of media and they only want to watch like their favorite movie. And I was like, yeah, but like everyone does that. Like everyone watches Buckaroo Banzai 4 times a week. What are you talking about? And it's like, oh, you know, they'll get overstimulated in a crowd. So they find things like, noise canceling headphones comforting. And I was like, I do own a pretty nice pair of noise canceling headphones that I do wear an awful lot. Or like the glasses, or like, it just makes the world a little more bearable when it's not so goddamn bright all the time.
I've grown more into that, but I would not check off many of the autistic things. Mine would purely
and
be
I mean,
ADHD.
There's a lot of overlap with ADHD, which was not a new diagnosis. I've known I've had that for a while. Like that wasn't I started getting treated for it finally. But I've known I've had ADHD. I know there's overlap. So part of getting the assessment was just like, all right, well, let me see. Like, I think I meet these criteria as well as the ADHD ones. And then through like talking about it with other people who are autistic or work in mental health, it's like, yeah, I think I'm correct here. But then I wanted since I'm so self-referential on stage and talk about
Mhm.
myself and my life, it started coming up. And then it's like, well, I don't want to speak for a community I'm not a part of. So I should get, and because like part of it is I know autistic people who've not actually been officially assessed
Mhm.
for a number of reasons. And it's like, well, I think if I'm going to be talking about it on stage, I think I should get
One
the
reason is it costs money.
yes, mine
Yeah.
happened to be covered by insurance, but that is not
Lucky.
always the
Yeah.
case. And if it wasn't, it would be very expensive. So
Yeah.
one reason people do it is it's very expensive because healthcare in America sucks. And another is just like, well, if they're not really seeking any accommodations at their job or whatever, they're like, it's not worth because it's a process. It's not just
Mhm.
like one doctor's appointment. This took weeks and months. Um, so I went through it all. The first part was a 45-minute Zoom meeting. Uh, did that. Then I had to fill out. It was like a 350 question survey. And then weeks later it was like a 2 to 3 hour in-person assessment. And then that's when I got about a week later was when I got the results for that. And the same doctor who did the Zoom assessment did the in-person assessment and was the
Mhm.
one who called me on Zoom to give me the results. And she gave me the results in the order that we did things. So the first part was a test for ADHD essentially. Um, she's like, this tests how well you pay attention to things. And I was like, well, we can actually skip this one because I can't. I'm bad at it. I'm going to get a bad score. I have ADHD. So just, we don't have to reconfirm that. And she's like, well,
Mhm.
it's part of it. And that test was I had to sit at a computer, hold a little clicker like on Jeopardy, and stare at the screen for 20 minutes. And while she's describing this test, I was like, please, please don't make me do this. This sounds genuinely horrible.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
gonna have to create a game for
it's a
this to be
yeah,
interesting.
it's a
But
black
how is that?
screen.
How does everyone
Well, let me
would feel that way,
finish.
right?
So it's a black screen. There's a dot in the middle of the screen. If a box appears above the dot, you hit the button. If the
Mhm.
box appears below the dot, no, 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 don't you press that button
Okay.
for 20 minutes. She's like, just to make sure that it works and you understand, we're going to do like a test run. The test run was
Okay.
2 minutes. And after that, I was like, please, I'm begging you,
Yeah.
don't make me do this for 20 minutes. And she's like, it's supposed to be boring. That's like the
Yeah.
design of the test. And then, so the results for this, she's like, so typically a typical score, because again, it's designed to be boring, right? It's boring on
Mhm.
purpose. So like a not ADHD person is going to get probably like a 2 or a 3, right? If they score 0 or below, that's when we start to consider maybe there's some
Mhm.
attention deficit issues. But you got a negative 13 and a half. And she said it the way I just did, like with a
Yeah.
little bit of a laugh. Like she's not seen a negative 13 in quite some time. And I was like, yeah, I told you. And the thing is, I took Adderall that morning.
Mhm.
I had the thought, I was like, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should skip the
Yeah.
Adderall,
Go raw dog.
like go in cold for this
Yeah.
assessment. But I just did it out of habit. And so if I didn't take it, I would have
You're
gotten a
addicted.
lower score. But then also so the box appeared, but then there was a smaller box in that box. And in the wake of the assessment, I was like, oh, maybe I misunderstood the directions. Like maybe there was a second parameter where like sometimes the box in the box was high or low.
Oh.
But I
Oh, I
did
don't
make
like
her
that at all.
explain
Yeah.
the instructions 3 times because I genuinely had a hard time following them. And it's like, well, if I did it wrong, it's because I misunderstood the directions because I couldn't pay attention to them. So
I can't
negative.
hear. So playing a game, like if we go through, my brother loves instituting new games and dropping on us as a
Yeah.
family, and he is a very like loves to learn a game. He
Mhm.
actually loves, I think, learning a game more than playing the game. And for me, when he's
Love a
doing the
game.
directions, I'm like, I will try to listen, but I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm not going to start learning this game until we start playing.
Correct.
I understand we
exactly the
got to
same
give
way.
some rules, but yeah, like
Yeah. I would. I love a tutorial in a video game. You know, where it's like, so other video game people sometimes will complain about like the first level is often just like,
mhm,
here's how the buttons work, and they're
the
like, I know how
basics, yeah.
buttons work, and it's like, hey man, some of us need this.
Well, and I think the rhythm of how buttons are used. I mean, I am not a gamer. I played some Halo on Xbox,
I'm
but
telling you,
that's
man, give
where
Red Dead
in
Redemption 2 a shot.
64. N64 is kind of where I tapped out. I like a real basic side scroller or just
Dog.
something like a Zelda. Like that's I can live in that for a while.
Red Dead
Or a
Redemption 2. Give it a go. I think it's on. I think if the Steam Summer Sale's still going on, I think it's like $15. It's great.
did I? Oh, I know you didn't have reception. Did you get the video of Anna played? We went to the Batman Museum
Oh,
in Indiana and the Superheroes Museum. Her
yeah, I
playing
saw the
that.
pictures.
Okay, did you see her? I'll send you the video. Her playing for the first time she's ever played like an arcade driving game.
No,
And it was a Batmobile one where you can pick whatever Batmobile. She picked Batman Forever Batmobile.
nice.
Loved it. Like, it was great. I was just like, oh, that's right. As a kid, nothing was cooler than playing a game at an arcade that like had a shooting apparatus or a driving apparatus.
Yeah.
But that, yeah, magical.
So turns out I have ADHD. Again, where it's like,
Mhm.
we can skip this test. I have it. I know I have it. It's being treated. Like,
Mhm.
move on. The next part was a cognitive test, because part of the criteria for diagnosing autism is you have to just like make sure that the symptoms can't be explained by
Something
else.
Yes.
So it's just like, let's make sure your brain works.
Yeah.
Um,
So is an
and
IQ?
yeah.
Okay.
Ooh,
Ooh, what's your numbers? I have no idea what my IQ is.
I mean, part of it. So when I was talking to Ren, part of working it out was like, it's high is the thing. And again, not a surprise for like,
No.
I standardized
Very
tests and
intelligent
stuff
person.
through school. I've
Yeah.
always known. My parents, I did get an IQ test as a kid, but they never showed me the results.
You're not supposed to. Yes, correct.
And the way it was explained, I don't know if this was my mom's decision or the school's decision, but they're like, if you tell him how smart he is, he's gonna be fucking unbearable.
It was the
And-
same for my brother Eric, and we're going to end up having the same thing. We're getting Anna a full
Yeah, you
psych
mentioned
eval
with Anna.
coming up. Yeah. So we're not. Yeah, we can't tell her even if it is, but there will be.
Yeah.
There will be some
So
help.
my understanding, knowing that I'm very smart, was like, oh, you guys knew too. You just thought if you told me, I would be.
And that's the thing is, if you told me a number, I don't even know what the highest number is.
Ever?
So
I
wouldn't
don't know
have
either.
No. I'm saying on the scale of like the IQ number, like
Yeah.
the IQ number level.
So part of the thing I'm trying to work out is the joke version of this. I'm trying to just kind of give it dry right now, but like the joke, this is now part of the new hour essentially.
Yeah, of course.
And the joke version is talking about the IQ part is like, I don't want to sound like a dick bragging about how smart I am, you know? But it's 132. It's a good number. It is the top 2%. If
What's
this
the
was
highest number?
there's
Do you
not
know?
one.
For
There's not
IQ?
like a cap.
Okay.
It's in the top 2% is Mensa level.
Okay.
132, it's in the top 2%. Mensa, shitty organization. Jamie Loftus did a great short run podcast called My Year in Mensa that I highly recommend people check out. And I've been bringing it up a lot lately. Anytime I've mentioned the IQ thing to people and they're like, ooh, you should take the test and get into Mensa. It's like, no, I would actually rather not be associated with those people. You should listen to Jamie Loftus's podcast. So Jamie, if you happen to get a spike in people listening to that, it was a couple years old.
It's a daddy-o spike.
But it's like, well, I need people to know that I'm smart, just like on a base level. And that's not new. Like, I think I don't remember if it's on Crime League or not, but there's a version of a joke where I talk about Jeopardy where I would rather go on Celebrity Jeopardy and get the validation of being famous, but also the questions are easier. So I would do better. And I just need people to think I don't need to be smart. I just need people to think that I am. Is the joke line. But it's like, oh, if I go up there and I tell people like, hey guys, turns out I'm fucking genius. Like I'm worried I'm gonna lose people, or they're gonna think I'm being a jerk. But I need them to know for the part of the joke later. So I'm trying to think of like the best way to soften it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I nailed that cognitive test. And uh, you're not a big Wes Anderson guy, right? So,
Royal Tenenbaums is my favorite. I
so
really
all
like
right,
Darjeeling Limited.
that's the Royal Tenenbaums is the one I would like to address.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Heinsbergen syndrome, the thing
Yeah.
that Bill Murray's, he's got the weird little kid.
Yep.
And he does the tests in the one scene. Those were the literal tests that I had to do. Like the part where he shows him blocks and he's like, make yours look like mine. I had to do that exact thing. And it's because the test they were giving me it's called the ADOS 2, and it is designed for children.
Mm-hmm.
It is designed to test for autism in children, and I'm a 42-year-old adult man.
Yeah.
But
they do it in an episode of Scrubs as well.
Again, the doctor, when she was doing the test, the blocks part where she's like, make yours look like mine. She's like, I just want you to know you're doing incredibly well at this part. Like, I'm genuinely impressed at how well you are arranging these blocks. And I was like, yeah, I'm famously good at arranging shapes and colors. Have you not heard about my Dr. Mario career? Like, yes, I can do this. Like, I can do this one all day.
You're like, but just to be honest, I am a little upset every time I match 3 colors together that a row doesn't disappear. So
right, why aren't these clearing out of the way?
But then they're like, oh, he's insane.
I'm in there. I'm doing it two-handed. I'm doing like 2 blocks in one hand, and it's like, yeah, like I have dexterity and a brain that works. I can do this very well.
How do you think I got Miss Tigger?
And so that I did
Dr. Mario.
And then the actual like autism part, and it's just like kind of an interview, and she's asking me about like jobs that I've had, relationships. Part of it was I had to describe 2 friendships that I have, and I talked about my friend Dan, who is my oldest friend that I'm like still close with,
97 years old.
It's like our moms are best friends, and it's like it was the 80s. It's just like, oh, you live down the street, we have kids that are similar ages, whatever, we're friends now, they're friends now, this is how it works.
Put 2 of them in a room, you either going to be enemies and some really heinous shit's going to happen, or you guys are going to be playing everything together.
And Dan and I are very close. I'm not physically, he lives in North Carolina now, but I talked about him, and then I talked about you, bud.
Do you have a weekly podcast with Dan? Fuck Dan.
I used to.
Oh, that's right.
But again,
improvised.
No, that was John.
Oh, okay.
Who is also my friend, but I've not.
What's the podcast with Dan?
It was called "Would You Smash It?" So there was. So there's a video game called Smash Brothers where a bunch of Nintendo characters fight each other.
Yeah.
And for a while, they were introducing new characters gradually.
Yeah.
And Dan was a video game journalist. Is a excellent, like, Smash Brothers is his Dr. Mario. Like, he is very, very good at that game at like a very real competitive level.
Yeah.
So the premise of the show was each week we would each propose a new character to add to the game. And he would come in with like a very well thought out, like important character in video game history whose like skill set would match the game and make them like a well balanced addition. And I was like,
good.
What about Count Chocula? That would be fun. And it was a very fun show to do, but then like they stopped adding characters, so like they're like all the characters are in it, so I don't know. But
Count Chocula became part of it, and he was just biting kids.
No, he was just one of my suggestions. But so I used him as an example of like oldest friend,
right,
and you as like an example of like fairly recent addition to the roster. You know, I've now known you for quite some time, but in terms of like people that I'm close to, like
Yeah.
uh you're I'm trying to think if anybody came in after you that like again, not to make this weird, that I
Mhm.
genuinely care about.
Yeah. Who usurped me? Who
I've
took
made
over
other friends
the space in your
since
heart?
you reached out,
Yeah. Well, and I just
but
keep on doing things to piss you off too, like smelling bad,
that came up in
m-
the assessment.
making people not come to shows.
I don't blame that on you. I blame the smell thing on
you
you
should
100%.
you should start connecting the dots.
But part of it, genuinely, she's like, "Oh, is there like sensory issues that you have, or like things that people do that annoy you that don't seem to annoy other people?" And I was like, "My friend Ricky smells so bad." and I explained the deodorant thing of like, it's not, but then it's like, well, I feel bad because I feel like I'm making you think I think you smell bad, which
No,
is
no,
not the
could
case.
care less.
The thing is just like the smell of the spray is so overwhelming, it drives me
Mhm,
insane. And but it's like people use those sprays all the time. This is
mhm.
not, I understand I'm the unusual case when it comes to that. Um, but also it drives me crazy.
I also typically am not a proponent of always like smelling like that. Typically for a show, I will overdo it a little bit. I don't travel with my cologne, which I would, but because I know I'm going to wear a suit or I'm going to wear long sleeves of some
Yeah.
sort, I'm not going to wear a suit if I'm featuring for a show. Um, but so, or I mean, unless it's you and I, then I'll wear a suit, whatever slot I'm in. But I know I'm going to sweat. I mean, I'm going to be under
Yeah.
lights and be wearing some stuff, whatever. So I don't want to then immediately have to come off stage and like, oh
Have you
no,
looked
I'm a
at
stinky little boy.
have you looked at the Twillery air suit at all? Are you familiar with this?
Twillery air suit.
Twillery air suit.
Twillery air suit. I
This
have
is
no
not a
idea
plug. I
what the
swear to God,
fuck
this
you
is
just
not
said.
covert marketing. It is a thing I found. I
No,
was looking
wait,
for.
is this not ad read that
I
we're
would
doing?
love it.
Like,
I want to be so
yeah,
clear. Twillery, reach out.
yeah, I wear a suit. I don't
So
even know what it looks like.
it is like almost like mesh, where like at a distance looks like a suit.
Okay.
I read like up close, you can kind of tell that there's a bunch of little holes. But
I don't know how
since
I feel about
taking
that.
Adderall,
Does like your hair go through the holes if you have
I
like
mean,
a
my hair
hairy
goes through
chest?
like most clothes. Like I'm
Really?
hair,
Like
I'm
even dress shirts?
probably
Well, I mean, let's
I'm furry. Oh, if we're doing it, baby,
yeah, I mean, let's
like this pokes through.
yeah, I mean, it's not like crazy, but like it goes pretty high up.
There
Goes
was
up
a
through my
hairiest
shoulder.
chest
I have
competition on
I
the
have a little
cruise.
bit of a what is that when you're wearing a tank top? It goes up a
Yeah,
little bit and kind of around.
the
Like
epaulets.
yeah, a little
Hang
bit.
on.
Not it's not as thick.
Okay,
Daddy,
we'll take a little break. I'll get you some.
do you have an OnlyFans? Is this your OnlyFans? Is that why you just lifted up your shirt? Are people paying you to
No, but so
disrobe?
Twillery, the suit is supposed to be like very breathable. And since starting Adderall, I sweat on stage in a way that I did not previously. And
Oh,
like
interesting.
I get dry mouth if I'm talking for a long time now.
Yeah.
Where like before, and it's so clearly because of the Adderall, because it wasn't it was like I've been doing this for much longer than I've been taking Adderall, and uh, um, Tom, I'm just glad their boss didn't walk by when we were both flashing nips. But
Flashing nips
like
with
I
Ricky and
need to
Glen.
have a bottle of water up on stage with me now if I'm doing an
Yes.
hour. Whereas
Yes.
like I liked having it before, but I would usually not actually need it.
I'm gonna say that's also an age thing
It might
because
be
I've
an age
I've
thing,
recognized that more.
but
right?
it was like literally the day I started taking Adderall, I had a show that night, and like
Are you
15
more?
minutes in, I was like, God, I'm so sweaty and I'm so thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like terribly hot in the YMCA gym I was performing in. Oh yeah, also Adderall makes me piss 40 times a day.
This all checks out.
But I think because I'm drinking more because of the drop, but whatever. But the air suit is supposed to be like super breathable and like chill. But it is also like the jacket is like $350.
I
So,
don't ever
not
feel
like insane for
we do need this as a
well-made
sponsor.
jacket.
Like we will wear them on air. Like I will wear
Yeah.
it in every every episode of Daddy.
I'll wear them on the
they
Daddy-O
sponsor us.
shows. Like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Let's-
about just
We'll clip this out and we'll put it up and we'll tag them on Instagram.
yeah.
Yeah.
I want one, but I want to make sure, like, I don't think they have physical stores, and I don't.
You want to try it on.
I wanna try it on.
Not a weird sensory like the, ooh, I don't like this while I'm
Yes.
performing.
Again, because
Very
that
important.
is how I shop for clothes. Is I go like this first. It's like, oh, that shirt
Ooh,
looks.
I can't do that because of the tips of my fingies, like
be
with
like, oh,
fabric.
That shirt looks nice. Let me give that. Ew, no, I would rather burn
I
alive
like
than wear
seeing
that.
that.
on my
Like
father.
you look like you're reaching and doing that to me.
Let me get. Yeah, because I need clothes to feel nice.
I don't get hot on stage. I just sweat.
Oh yeah, you do, baby. It is both for me now. Like
Yeah.
it is. Sometimes I get hot on stage because like it's hot under the lights or whatever. But it's like
Mhm.
I've been getting kind of sweaty, getting pretty thirsty. But again, like I want to try one of these on.
You so thirsty. You got a
thirsty.
straw on stage. You put that straw up to that mic and you go.
All right. I do have to grab my human child some food because there's
Yes.
laws. So I need you to vamp for like 2 minutes.
Of course, I am happy to vamp. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a failed performance that I had, which I know, listeners, you're thinking is a common theme. If you have any questions or want to ask me anything in the comment section while Glenn is gone, I will happily answer and we can discuss whatever you want. Just throw a question up in there. But while I wait for that, I'll tell you this story. This past Monday, there's a comedy club that has been just juggernauting its way into the Northern Kentucky comedy scene. It was called the Commonwealth Sanctuary. They overtook a church in Dayton, Kentucky, which is, I live in Newport. There's Bellevue, there's Dayton, right close to one another. My mom grew up in Dayton, Kentucky. It is right on the Ohio River. And they have just been exploding, just getting great acts. And a lot of people we've talked about on this podcast have headlined or performed there. Rory Scovel recently. Michael Ian Black is part of their anniversary show that actually might be this weekend when this episode drops. I had not had the opportunity to do a lot of open mics with kids and stuff and scheduling and just all the stuff that I do. So finally, the person who runs Commonwealth, which it's now Commonwealth Comedy Club, no longer Sanctuary, Sean Braley, I reached out to him and I was just like, hey, I would love to do the Monday workshop show where it's their open mic, but you got to sign up on a list. And Sean very graciously was just like, yep, if you're able to come down, like sign up on the list between 6 and 6:45. I'll make sure you get on the show because not everybody gets on the show. It's a curated list. So I then asked my wife, who was having a baby shower that night at her house, and our daughter was sleeping over at Nana's. The boys need to go down to bed usually around like between 7 and 7:30, which is when the show started. But so I asked Allie, I was like, if I can bike there, it's only a couple miles away, sign up on the list, come back, put the boys to bed, then bike back and do the show. If you're okay with that. And Allie's like, yep, great time to go do this. You should go do this. This is club's right around the corner. You know, when you have the time available to workshop stuff, you should be more prevalent in the local scene as much as I can as a dad of 3 children, 3 under 10. I'm wrapping up my story that I hinted at earlier at my first time doing the Commonwealth Sanctuary open mic with possible future guests. I asked him, but we'll see. If he says no, then I'll say it on
You
the
did that
podcast.
recently?
Yeah, I did it on Monday. Sean Braley does Commonwealth. Now it's called Commonwealth Comedy Club. So anyway, I was talking about how I reached out to him and he's like, yep, open mic on Monday. It's usually between 3 and 5 minute sets. You have to sign up between 6 and 6:45. It's a curated list based on people who sign up, so not everybody gets on. But he's like, I will make sure if you sign up, I'll put you on the show. I was like, great.
I follow their Instagram despite living fairly far away.
They're right around the corner. They're blowing up. So anyway, I did so I asked, I was like, can I sign up on the list, bike back to my house, help put the twins down, and then come back and do the show. And he's like, absolutely. So being very nice, very gracious, already telling me he was going to put me on the show, which I was like, really appreciate it. Because I want to do stuff at places nearby. It just
Yeah.
doesn't always
I've
work
heard
out.
it is a great room. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know if this is a positive or negative story, but I've heard good things about it. I would love to get down
negative
there.
story, and the world of Ricky Glore needs to get his shit together. Or I don't know what.
Okay.
So I'll try to wrap it up quicker. Get there. The show hasn't started yet. There for the meeting. I have 3 minutes, and I had already been working on like what the 3 minutes would be, because talking to other comics, they're like, yeah, they don't really want you to be super loose, no crowd work. They kind of, if you're doing new stuff, sandwich it.
Trying to do crowd work in a 3-minute set.
Would never do it. Right.
What do you do for work? Talk fast. I don't have a lot of time up here.
Yeah. I'm funnier than you.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a way to introduce the idea of me and myself and my family situation. And then I'm going to do a couple of those jokes and then do Anna Mummy story because it's 2 minutes long. So I'm going to use a minute to kind of intro with a few jokes that I can try to make seem more spontaneous, but without crowd work.
Sure.
And so I'm in the middle of the show. And there's about 25 comics. I'm up about number 12. There's Zach Wyckoff's on the show. I've worked with. John Holmes is on the show, who I've worked with and love. Yep. People you've seen in my stratosphere. Blake Hammond is on the show. Rand Barnacle, who local guys who have some notoriety. A lot of good comics on the show. Show's pretty good. Then there's a couple comics that are doing a little rougher, but when their sets don't do great, they go, you know what? I'm going to give some time back to the room. I'm done with me. So I guess they didn't even get to their light, which they told us you get a light. And then when it's really time to get off stage, you get a blink, blink, blink. And then if you keep going, we're going to cut your mic off.
Yeah.
And they're doing a God
Pretty
mic in the back to bring people up. This is my first time at this place. And I want to do well and I want to respect them. And so I go up and trying to pick up back the energy of the room. I try to be, like I said, be spontaneous with just like, and here's me. Like I was like, I biked here. I was like, and not despite the mustache in a cool Harley way, but like more of a huffy situation. But a guy who just left his wife with his 6-year-old daughter and twin 18 months old to bike here and tell you guys jokes and hopefully get your validate, like that kind of joke. And like it gets a little bit, yes, it gets a little bit. And then I tell a couple shorter jokes that get all right, and I start to get into Mummy, and some of this stuff starts work, like it feels like it's revving up, like it's working better. And then I get the hard light and I see it, I acknowledge it because they asked for light. I'm like, I have a minute left, like I can definitely wrap this up. I'm getting through it, and then I see the blinking light and I'm like, well, the next line is the end of the joke, and I'm finishing it, and the mic cuts off, and they God mic me, and they bring up the next comedian. And I was just like, I feel like such an asshole. I was like, I've never ran the light. I can't believe I just did that. And my first time here, I am the worst person on this show. Like, other people might have had bad sets, worse sets. I don't think mine was great anyway. But I was like, I just did the one thing.
Yeah.
Like, if I could, like, there are other worse things that I could have done. But, like, in the world of, like, first impression, that's the first impression. Like, so I apologized profusely at the end of the show to Sean, and then I sent him a Facebook message. It's like, hey, I really like blah blah, sorry, like it was not my intention. And he wrote back, hey, all good, man, it happens. Hope to see you around the club more often.
Yeah.
And so I had asked him if he wants to be a guest on a future episode, and so I will let you know what he says. Yeah, after that. But
I do
so that
think
was the end of my story.
I do think it's tough when you have 3 minutes. Like,
3 minutes was tough.
I understand you can get 25 people on if you give everybody 3 minutes versus 20 if you give everybody 5. But like, it's such a. There were mics in New York. I don't know if there still are any where it's like you get a minute and it's like, this was pre Kill
Wild.
Tony. where that is like a format now. Everybody's just like trying to rip off.
Gong show. Yeah.
But this was just like, we can get 40 people up if we give everybody a minute, and it's like, why bother?
No, you don't need to. Yeah. Well, but I don't. I mean, my 3 minutes. I understood the assignment. I put
3,
together
like
what
if you're working out a bit, like you can get a bit or two in 3 minutes, but I don't know. It's just, I think 5, it might just be like, but in my day it was 5 minutes and we were grateful for it. And
well,
it's like,
but I got yanked at 4. Like they gave me an extra minute before they cut the mic. So again, I cannot. It was 100%
this guy's
fault.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard it is a great room. Again, I think I forget. I don't remember why. I've never been there. Right.
You've probably seen clips.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I don't remember why I follow them on Instagram. I'm not in the habit of just like following every comedy club.
Oh, I had reached out to them when you were a month or so ago, 2 months ago, said about going to be in the area in November.
Yeah.
I had
and they said, no, we hate him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, oh, you know him?
They said, ew, yucky.
Future open micer who will go over his time. And I said, how do you know that? And they're like, we know you're kind.
We know all about you, Glor. No, so I don't remember where I left off before I had to make a waffle for my child.
Cognitive.
Talking about friends. I'm a genius. Yeah. I'm a literal genius.
You matched it so good, and so that was the the autism interview and the shapes.
So I've got comically bad ADHD. I'm a literal genius, and then the autism interview part that is designed for children, and we're talking about friends, and I used Dan as an example of like oldest friend. I'm like, I love Dan Van Winkle. If you're watching and listening, you are my friend and I love you. But he and I became friends because of proximity. Like it is just literally our parents lived near each other and had children of similar ages.
That's also how friends, especially when you're
I'm
a child.
Not saying that's not it's unique
uncommon,
in any way.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, how did you and it's like, I don't know, our parents just kept putting us in a room together. And then we realized of the kids in the neighborhood, we were the ones who would rather be inside playing video games than being outside playing kickball or whatever. So, just like through proximity over the years, it's like, yeah, no, like I like this guy a lot. So I'm pointing that out because like it wasn't a relationship that developed because like we met one day and it's like, man, something about this guy, like we get along really well. He's so interesting. It is just like, I don't know, Dan. I don't remember Dan not being my friend. Like, it's just kind of always been the case where
there wasn't like first grade when I met still 2 lifelong friends, Eric Hunter and Nick Prince. Nick Prince did grow up on my street, and I did fall out of his 15-foot treehouse and break both my wrists.
Oh, I fell off Jessica Chunka's treehouse and sliced my back up pretty bad one day.
Both
Jessica,
of them,
that wasn't your fault. I'm not mad at you.
Oh, I take again, yeah. Glen Tickle takes full responsibility. But Eric Hunter and Nick Prince in first grade class, I distinctively remember like that moment where we're just like, oh, we're like stepbrothers. Like, you want to be best, like you guys want to be friends. Was bring a book from home, from school, and then we're going to put you in little groups and you're all going to read them. Our group was me, Nick Prince, Eric Hunter, and Josh. I can't think of his last name. We were all put in a group because the books we brought for home were comic books. And like just immediately, if anything can have you connect to another kid when you're a kid, like a toy or a comic book, it's just like,
you also like Ninja Turtles? Wow.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing about Ninja Turtles?
Donatello's your favorite too?
Yeah. Like no one was like, people are bringing in comics. Like I may have even brought in like Spider-Ham. And I'm just like, it's like Spider-Man, but it's funny. So you get the cool shit of Spider-Man, but they're also like Muppet babies, like because they're like all animals. I was
Mhm.
like, and they make fun of Spider-Man. Like, this is great. How many comics did I get in one?
But I used you as an example
Yeah.
of a more recent friend because it's like, oh, well, like we met, you reached out about your album because you found the article I wrote. And then I told you to fuck off. And,
Not just once.
a couple of times because the
Yeah.
whole article is about just do it yourself. You don't need a label. And then you're like, yeah, but I want one. And then you offer
But I want to go. But I want to, Daddy.
your offer was like, well, look, I'm doing a show kind of near you.
Like an
So
audition. That was my
so
offer.
come out, we'll do the show together. You know, even if you don't want to do the album, whatever, we'll hang out, we'll have a good time. So me and Jason Brown and I think his daughter Aaliyah Brown
Mhm.
um came out to that show. I think Jason hosted, maybe Aaliyah did 5 or was just there. I don't really remember.
I think she was just there. I don't
And
think she did
then
time.
your set I liked, but you sent me like a video and I was like, you're good at comedy. Like I'm not turning this down because I don't think you should do an album.
I'm going to
It
put
is-
that as a quote of a
It is
previous
just I don't
on
want
the
to
bash.
I don't
Ricky
want to do a
Glord,
spreadsheet.
You're good at comedy. Glen Tickle.
And but you also made it pretty clear. You're like, well, no, I'm going through a label, right? Like I am not going to self-produce this, regardless of how many times you tell me to.
Mhm.
And then the clips you sent, I liked, and then the set you did was really good. It's like, well, if somebody's gonna cash in on this dingus, it might as well be me. But so then like we did a couple shows together, and just through that, it's like, oh, I like how you approach comedy. I like your actual comedy.
If only I could have an audience of Glen Tickles.
Yeah, but it's like through that, it's like, oh, I like spending time with you. Like I like talking about comedy with you.
Mhm.
In a way, like I've met a lot of comedians where I don't like how they talk about comedy. I don't
Yeah.
want to spend a ton of time talking about craft with them.
We
for
also
example.
have some things in common, which make it nice. And I also think we are emotionally mature enough and open enough to have pretty non-apologetic conversations about things. Like, even if I say something that you would maybe like, oh, I don't know if I'd say it that way, or vice versa. Like, we both I
Yeah.
think we
Well,
have
you've said
we have children. Yeah. What did I say? Is this a bit?
no. I remember it came up like in the first couple of episodes where I forget who or what I was complaining about, but it's like, oh, like I don't ever have to talk to that person again. And you're like, what would I have to do?
Oh,
For you.
very early on. Yeah.
And I don't remember my exact response, but it was like, well, no, like you get a pass on stuff because not everything.
Yeah.
Stay
Yeah,
on your toes.
yeah.
But like you get a pass, and this is true. I think everyone does this for people that they like, where it's like, no, you get a pass because I like you. Like,
Mhm.
you see it in politics a lot where people are like, oh, well, like if a Democrat said this, you'd be fine with it. It's like, yeah, because I'm generally on their side. It's like I already don't like you, politician.
Yes.
So your friends can get away with things that most people can't, you know?
Yes.
Um,
Speak of the devil, Mike Flensham is
oh
finally
God,
in
is that what
here.
happens? You just bring him up and he pops in
He
the
had
chat?
asked. Yeah, he had asked us to start over. Sorry,
No,
Mike. You're on the back like 9
yeah.
of this. We're getting ready to wrap up.
Yeah,
But
so,
to talk
long-
about friendships,
Yeah,
Mike
we're
Flensham,
talking about
longtime
friendship and how much I love Ricky Glore, and he said that he wants to be your friend forever and that you love comic books. To get you caught up on the episode, though, Mike, we're talking about my autism assessment results, which turns out I'm not autistic, we'll just get into that. So, the reasons, again, my goal was not get diagnosed as autistic.
My goal was not get autism.
It was find out if I really have this. Is it just ADHD symptoms? Is it something else?
Yeah.
So she calls. First of all, the assessment was on a Tuesday, and then she's like, "I'm thinking we do the assessment, and she's like, "Hey, congratulations on being autistic. You really crushed it."
Yeah.
But she's like, "I have to confer." She filmed it. She's like, "I have to confer with my colleague."
Are you
Well,
allowed to get the tape to like send out like type 5?
I'll close on that.
Fuck. Sorry. I didn't
No,
mean to blow a
it's
joke.
fine. So she filmed it. It's
Yeah.
not a joke. It is me. It is the thing I'm angriest about in the world right
Oh,
now.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
I was gonna bring it up anyway.
I'm
So
gonna
she
mute my
films
mic.
it, and then she's like, "I have to confer with a colleague. I will reach out early next week and give you the results." So that weekend, you and I are in Ohio. So I'm driving back on Monday, and I was like, "Well, Monday is early this week." So normally, I've talked about it on stage. My phone is on silent. I'm not getting notifications when I'm driving. I left it was ringing, texts were popping up because I wanted these results. And now, to be clear, if it rang, I would have pulled over and answered the phone. Um, I wasn't reading the text messages, but knowing that they were there, it's like, okay, when I can pull over for gas now, then in 45 minutes, so I can check because I wanted the results. Didn't hear on Monday. Tuesday comes. And it's like, all right, well, Tuesday's still early next week. So right, it'll probably be today, right? And then it's like 5 o'clock on Tuesday. I haven't heard shit. And it's like, all right, I guess, if we're being flexible, I guess early Wednesday morning could still be early next week. Nothing until Friday night. She finally at like 5 o'clock shoots me an email, or no, Thursday night. She's like, hey, I have your results. Can we set up a time to talk? I was like, right now? Can we do it right? Because this is now mid to late next week. You said early next week. So we set it up for like first thing Friday morning. Get on the Zoom call. She goes through the results and she's like, you have comically bad ADHD. I was like, I know. I told you that from the jump. She's like, your cognitive thing, genuinely very impressive. You have an IQ that is in the top 2%. She couched it though. She's like, like most things, it's like a bell curve. It's a pretty even distribution across the population. Most people fall in the middle. And I thought she was like saying that to like brace me for being like, you seem to think you're really, really smart. You're only really smart. So like, just relax. Like I knew I'm, to the right of the curve.
Right.
But I'm like, oh, all right, I'm about to be disappointed by not being as smart as I think I am. And then she's like, no, actual literal genius. And I was like, hey, thanks.
Real genius Val Kilmer.
Yeah,
shit.
you Val Kilmer ass. And I was like, incredible. So I'm feeling good at this point because somebody told me I'm smart. It's one of my favorite things in the world. And then she's like, and for the autism, you just don't have it, kid. And I was like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? No, like what do you mean? And because again, like I said, the goal wasn't get diagnosed as autistic. It's find out if I'm autistic. And I was like, what can I ask? Like, what's your reasoning? And she's like, well, I conferred with my colleague. And he pointed out, he's like, well, he's married. So he has no trouble forming relationships. And I was like, stop. That's genuinely offensive. Like,
yes,
that's not diagnostically relevant. That I'm
There's
married.
also a reality show called Love on the Spectrum right now.
Yeah.
Which is about how people with differing levels of autism have relationships.
So truly at that point, I was like, you're my enemy.
Your credibility.
Now.
Yeah,
like
credibility.
I am no longer interested in the rest of your, if that's the reason you're leading with, well, you're married, so you can't be autistic. How dare you? I was ready to like slam my laptop closed.
Literally anybody can get married unless you are brother and sister or first cousins, I think.
Depends on the state for the cousins thing.
I don't think first. I've because of being from Kentucky and West Virginia.
Because of being from New Jersey, a state where you can marry your first cousin.
You can marry your first cousin. And, I'm gonna Google while you continue.
I don't want to. I just
I'm gonna Google. Can you marry your first cousin?
Yeah, do it. Do it right now while I continue to complain. So she's like, and she was clear. She's like, well, this is what he said, and I'm like, well, don't Pat, you're the one giving me this news. So the fact that I'm married, I'm not autistic. And then she's like, also, you have severe ADHD. And I was like, right. A condition with famous overlap with autism.
Mhm.
Like,
Are
that's
you
not,
are you educating them when you said that? Like, did they have a look of like, no, you're incorrect?
well, the thing is, pre DSM 5, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, uh, the fifth edition, they were considered one or the other, right? You have ADHD or you have autism. With the update in the DSM-5, that is no longer the case, and they because they realized like, oh, there's actually quite a bit of overlap between these two conditions in symptoms, but also in people who have them. ADHD is a common way to describe both conditions. Um, and she's like, so a lot of the symptoms can just be explained by your ADHD, which I'm like, well, yes, because there's a lot of overlap, but also not all of the symptoms, particularly like the ones that I have the most trouble with. The reason I came to you was like
Mhm.
sensory issues are such a big thing for me. Like that is why your deodorant has become such a running bit on the show and on the live shows, because just the strong smell of it is so upset. I wear these dark glasses because everything is too bright all the time. I wear my headphones almost all of the time because things are too loud. I shop by clothes by feel because I can't stand how certain material feels. If my skin gets sticky, I have to address it immediately. Like it is not like, oh, I got a little maple syrup on my fingies, I'll take care of that in a couple minutes. It's like I will chew my hand off like a raccoon in a trap if I don't get this off my skin. We did my daughter's birthday party a couple weeks ago, and part of it was she wanted to put makeup on my face
Mm.
so I could chase around her and her friends as a monster. And she put some makeup on me, which I'm fine with, but she put like this lip stuff on me. And I was like, wait,
Mhm.
no, stop. We have to get this off of me immediately. Uh, and I couldn't deal with the feeling of the stuff that she put on my lips. Then the day of the party, she puts all the makeup on, which like is uncomfortable, but whatever. She's my daughter. I love her. I'll put weird makeup on my face. But then she keeps delaying the part where I chase her and her friends around as a monster.
Mhm.
And it's like, all right, can we do this so I can clean my face? Like I would like this to end. And then at a certain point, one of the kids at the party, I would say her friend, but it's not, it was just another child in her class, spilled
An
a bunch of water
acquaintance. Mhm.
on the table, which got all over like most of the pizza that we ordered,
Oh yeah.
and made like a big mess. So I had to deal with that. And then it's like, hey, we need to do this monster thing right now because now daddy is so overstimulated by this mess and loss of quite a bit of his favorite food that if we have to do it right now or I'm just going to wash my face. Um, like sensory issues are the big one that is like a problem.
Mhm.
Um, because like the relationship stuff, like being married is not uh, does not preclude me from being autistic,
No.
but the actual diagnostic criteria that they're referring to is like, oh well, he has no problem forming relationships, is it's the first one. It's persistent deficits in social communication and social interaction across multiple contexts as manifested by the following currently or by history. And it is like deficits in forming relationships and communicating with people, not an inability to do it, right? It is
Right.
not like, so the thing of the green room story that I told earlier is a great example. There's
Mhm.
too there's too much stimulus. It is too crowded and loud and hot. I don't want to be in there. But also, I don't know how to interact with strangers. I can't do it with 20 of them at once. I need to go sit in the other room. Um and I mentioned it's like, oh, if I'm doing a show, I can talk to another comedian in a way that I can't to other people because we have a thing in common, right? Like I know, okay, you even if it's a comic I don't particularly like, we
Mhm.
can talk about comedy. I won't say his name, but I pointed one out on a poster to you recently.
Mhm.
When I run into this guy, it's not like, ugh, I can't. oh, I hate this. It's just like, I don't know. We don't really get along, but whatever. On a professional level, we can make small talk about comedy
Yeah.
backstage. But the cruise ship thing of like walking around and getting recognized by people and them wanting to talk to me, it feels nice to get recognized, but that I can only do it for a certain amount of time before it's like, well, I don't know. I don't know what to say next because you already said I did a good job and I said thank you so much. I hope
Mm-hmm.
you're enjoying the rest of the cruise. And then you started talking about something else, and now I don't know what to do. So bye. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't want to be here anymore. Yeah.
it's because I have a deficit in my ability to like make small talk with people. It's like I don't know what to talk about. You know, when
Mhm.
people are like, "Oh, hey, sports," right? And it's like, I don't know, sports is boring. You want to talk about chess? No, all right, well, bye. And that's that's what they're looking for in this criteria of like, can you interact with people in a normal way? No, I can't. Even the fact that my wife is someone I met similar to like how I talked about being friends with Dan.
Mhm.
My wife and I met in the 7th grade. Not to detract from my relationship with my wife, who I love very much. It is clearly part of it is just like we are so comfortable together because we've known each other for a very long time. We know that we like each other. We know that we don't like interacting with people
Mhm.
who we don't know. So again, I'm not being like, oh yeah, whatever, default setting. I'm just gonna marry this lady. She's great. I love my wife very much, but it's just like, is it not relevant to the discussion of my inability to form relationships that my primary relationship is with a woman I've known for now 30 years? And it's just like, oh, I already know you. We like being around each other. You want to be around each other all the time? It's like that, I
And there's
think.
also we've talked about different stories of um you have had members of the opposite sex interested in you. So
Yeah.
it's not like if you wouldn't have not like hitched up together after, kind of the first person you're kind of not. I mean, was she your first
Right.
crush or was it just like,
No. So we met in 7th grade. We started
yeah.
dating in high school, broke up for a bit, each basically dated one other person for any like serious amount of time. We sure we each went on like dates with other people, but like had like one other relationship and then got back together.
But so you've talked about though other women, you acknowledging and recognizing other women have been attracted to you, and if not being
Yeah.
married, like it's not an incel thing where you're just like no
No,
woman wants to
and
be with me, and
I think I thought that in high school more than was the actual reality of the
of
situation.
course
So
because we're
there,
so horny and do not know how to like
right? It's like, oh, because I don't know
yeah,
how to. I don't know how to
yes,
talk to girls. It's not girls don't want to talk to me.
I
It is
still don't
like,
know how to talk to
I
girl
don't know how to
like
talk to girls. What are you talking
yeah.
about? Of course not. That's
I
why I'm
This is the struggle with my daughter right now. Like
I
this is
I love my wife so much, but like the
yeah.
thought of uh having to start over, like let's say whatever happens that I'm not married. I don't want to not be, like
Yeah.
I like her
Yeah.
so much, but also the thought of like going on a
Oh,
bar,
it's
you
hacky.
go to a
I
bar
know
and
it
you like
is.
talk to a stranger to see if you
If I
want to
had
spend
to
the rest of your
guess,
life with them. What are you doing out there, everybody?
if the peanut gallery had an opinion on what is a hacky premise or not, I'm sure that is one of them that would get hacked
Oh,
away
dating
of
apps,
like,
yeah. I've been
well,
with
I
my
know
wife
the idea
before
of
dating
like,
apps.
I've been with my wife for so long, I can't imagine going on dating anymore. But it's
Yeah.
like, no, here's the thing is like, I don't, my
Doogie
level of
Horner,
interest in others
um,
has changed
Doogie
even worse.
Horner, a likely future
Yes.
guest on Daddio. Uh, I'm going to use him as an example again after this, but he has a great bit. I think it's on his first album where he talks about, he's like, I could only get divorced from my wife if she helped. Like I
That's funny.
I couldn't fill out the form without her because I know so little about
Yeah.
myself and our. I think the example he uses, he's like, if I go to fill out the form, I'd have to be like, hey, sweetie, what's my middle name? And it's Doogie Horner is great. Now, the example I will use him for, and I think I've brought this up before in context of another comedian. I don't remember if I did it on the show or just with you. But like Doogie Horner is a guy that I've known for quite some time.
Yeah.
Of just like another comic. We have friends in common. He used to work with friends of mine. We've done shows together. We've met a number of times. I don't know if he thinks we are friends. And
Interesting. I'm sure most people actually do think you're friends, where they don't break it down like you and I, or unless they approach things like you and I, where I think I have way more acquaintances than who I consider an actual friend.
well, the thing is, like, there's a lot of people who I talk about as like, oh, just in conversation, I will say, oh, like my friend John Hodgman.
hmm
Hodgman and I have done shows together. We've corresponded a number of times. We've sent each other nice emails and text messages about things. I don't know if he thinks I don't know if he's like, oh, my friend Glen Tickle.
You understand the relationship, though, of like, you are like, to me, he is my friend, but I don't know in his sphere if I am considered his
I
friend.
guess that's part of it. But
Yeah.
it is just like,
It's
I don't-
consideration.
I don't want to assume friendship when it is not there.
Mhm.
But if I'm talking to somebody about Doogie Horner, for example, I will just say, oh, my friend Doogie Horner. Because I mean, a guy that I know that if you ask Doogie Horner, hey, do you know Glen Tickle? He would say, yes, I do know Glen Tickle. If you ask Doogie Horner, is Glen Tickle your friend? I don't know how how he would respond.
Yeah.
I don't think he would be like, I fucking hate that guy. But
He's like the opposite.
he might just be like, oh yeah, no, we've met several times. I don't know. So, but I think about this with everyone, like all of the time. And again, if you look at the DSM-5, the criteria for like relationship, it's like, yes, I constantly think about the status of my relationship with everyone that I interact with, of just like, oh, do these, not in like a, oh God, all my friends secretly hate me way necessarily, but it's like, I don't know, some of my friends just might think of me as a guy they know. And I don't know if that's because there's a lot of people in my life that I think of just as guys I know. Like, there are people in the world where it's like, hey, if I found out, I'm not going to name names, but it's like, hey, I'll make a name up. I'm like, hey, Douglas, if I find out that you're out there telling people we're friends, nah, man, I'm not your
But
friend.
see,
Douglas.
it doesn't. But see, I think
Again,
of the
this is a fake name
consideration,
if your real
and then
name is
like,
Douglas.
if it's, again, I don't care. Like, all right, someone says we're friends, great. I wouldn't. That's not how I classify. Like, and that's fine. I'm not going to be upset if you say, like, if there is someone who is not a cool person, and they're like, you know what? I'm
Right, I don't
using
want
this name
dirtbags
as
telling people I'm their
association.
friend.
Yes, I don't want people using me as a reference, and they're like, well, he'd vouch me because he's my friend. I'm like, hey, for one,
Ooh,
ask me
yeah, I've had
first.
that exact thing happen, and it's like,
That hasn't had, but like everybody that has wanted to use my name, and I'm like, you don't got to use my name. Maybe not, might not be helpful. But like, here's the thing too. I think you're similar in this way. We might be in rooms of a lot of people, or we might be around people that we've been around more than one time, and we've talked about that with name memory. I don't open up to be friends with them. I am not in friend situations much
Yeah.
to acquire new friends because I don't want it.
same. Here's the
Yes.
thing. I'm good actually. Like, there's a lot of online discourse about like the male loneliness epidemic of like adult men just don't know how to make friends anymore. And it's
Mhm.
like, no, I've got a couple. I don't know, start a weekly podcast with one of your friends. Problem solved, you know? Because when I brought up our friendship in the autism
Mhm.
assessment, I was like, I think we are fairly close. Like, we've been doing shows together and going on tour. And I mentioned the podcast of like, I wanted to start this podcast with him, like, to promote the shows we were going to be doing, but also because it felt like a good way to have
Check multiple boxes.
approximation of a normal friendship with somebody.
Because you and I
Because-
also, for the most part, like our conversations are staying in touch with one another is how men traditionally do it nowadays, which is through text messages and
Yeah.
occasional audio message. Like, we're not going to, hey, let's have our regular phone calls every
And
night.
part of
We
it
do
is
that right now.
we don't live near each other, so it's not
No.
like, oh yeah, whatever. Wednesday night,
Come
me and
over
Ricky
and
are
watch
gonna
a
go
movie.
hang out
Yeah.
at the bar or whatever.
We're gonna go get fucking wrecked.
And the thing is, like, all my close childhood friends moved. Like, I'm the one who stayed. Like, I still live in my hometown.
And when you have kids, it is harder and harder to arrange those times, or there's permutations of just like, well, in our house, you can come over and we can watch a movie or hang out or shoot the shit or do whatever, or go pop somewhere if Allie's going to be here or something after 8 o'clock, because then that's when I can do my little clock out card of a parent.
And like I get like a guy that I'm close with again, where it's like I'm now comfortable calling my daughter's her best friend's dad. He and I are friends, but like for a while, it's like, does he think we're friends? Like, is it just is he's like, oh, it's my kid's friend's dad who like whatever. Sometimes we bring the kids to the park together, but now it's like, oh, our daughters have been best friends for years.
Yes,
we are friends. Like we've not done anything together outside of children being around, but I don't think it would be weird.
No,
except for like the scheduling of it would probably be a pain.
Yeah.
But like if he and
that's a good joke, but I mean also you have to be okay with it being a little creepy, where you're just like, hey, you want to get together tomorrow? And he's like, oh, sure. Let me ask whatever his daughter name is, Samantha, if she wants to have played it. And you're like, no, she ain't invited.
No, leave the kids.
Leave the kids at home this time.
But
Daddy-o.
because like most of the other parents that I've met through my children, we're friendly enough if we're at an event or whatever. But I don't know. I don't want to go see a movie with most of them.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna close 2 tabs before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Which one was surprisingly to me, I guess, not to you. Here is a list of the 18 states where it's legal to marry your first cousin.
Is it still Jersey? I know we were. It might have changed recently.
Alabama, Alaska, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, not surprised. Dig at Florida. Georgia, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Mexico, New York, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Vermont, Virginia, District of Columbia, American Samoa, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, and New Jersey.
I was double checking because you were going alphabetical and you skipped it.
I know.
I'm pretty sure I'm right.
On purpose.
Yes.
Fuck with my autistic friend Glen Tick. So now you got to close your tab of the videotape, right?
Yes. So I'll get there. I'm still complaining about.
Yes,
so the other reasons, right? She's like, well, you're married, so you can form relationships. I was like, but the criteria is a difficulty forming relationships and behaving in a social situation, not an inability. She's like, you have severe ADHD. I was like, yes. That's like saying I'm not autistic because I'm too tall. It's not. That's not a reason to say I'm not autistic. The other one, she's like, you're very smart. And I was like, yes. Again, completely unrelated. Also, don't tell me I'm a literal genius and then tell me I'm wrong about something. What are you doing? Like, I'm pretty sure you just told me I'm smarter than you. So I think I know what I'm talking about. And that's the joke version where it's like, that's the one. I think it'll make me seem unlikable. But then the follow-up line is like, oh, look, I understand it's rude to come up on stage and tell people that you're a genius and brag about how smart you are. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I misread a common social cue? Can't imagine what condition might have led me to do that. And then the other reason she gave, it was married, ADHD, very smart. Pissed. There was another one that was also fucking pointless.
You could do the color. You could match.
Well, no, but again, like that's I'm good at Dr. Mario because of autism. Like,
yeah.
Like that's if you. So I went and did a tournament last weekend
and did very well.
Came in second, and I was like texting my wife updates about it because so the way it works is there's like a round robin qualifying round. You get put in a group of 7. Everybody plays each other once, and this was the first tournament where I didn't sweep that. I didn't beat everybody in my qualifier round, and I didn't feel good about it. The only person I lost to in the qualifier round is the guy who won the tournament, so like that made me feel a little bit better. But yeah, second place is the best I've done in a tournament. But
Congratulations.
if
you
you
deserve
talk to competitive Dr. Mario players,
it. Drybar reposted your Dr. Mario bit in association with your post about coming in second, correct?
I think yeah. The timing
That means
worked
they
out.
stalk you.
Oh, they follow me on social. They did it.
Creepy little stalkers.
They posted it on my birthday last year, not this year, but that's fine, Drybar. You don't have to do it every year. And
Well,
then
they just did it, yeah.
And then it was that weekend they put it up. But if you talk to the competitors at a Dr. Mario tournament, friends, I know a lot of these people now. I'm not out here diagnosing people I don't know that well, but there's I'm not the only autistic person at the Dr. Mario tournament. And I wasn't mic'd on the stream, but I had headphones in and I was wearing these glasses, and Chris Bidwell was doing the commentary on the stream, and he like mentioned, he's like, oh, Glenn is I guess going for like a poker player thing of like dark sunglasses and his headphones, and he's like no reaction on his face, and you couldn't hear it on the stream, but I go, oh no, that's just autism. And I'm like, that was a good bit. I wish that got picked up on the stream.
That could have gone viral. That could have gotten some hits.
I'm trying to remember what the other, but the thing is, none of the reasons that she gave me for not being autistic have anything to do with whether or not I'm autistic. So I reject the results. I was genuinely, I think looking back, who knows, but I think I was prepared for her to be like, you are not autistic. Even the ADHD thing, if she's like,
but for not the reasons of fully.
The ADHD thing, there are overlap with symptoms. So she's like, look, these are the symptoms. But part of it was also, she's like, well, you have autistic traits, right? Like clearly, but they can be explained by other things. And I was like, no, they can't. Some of it, like having ADHD, can make it hard to form relationships with people because we are chronically late because we lose track of time, or you forget to send somebody a text back. Like there's reasons that can impact a relationship. That's not why I have
so she didn't, because it was a diagnosis for autism. It wasn't, they couldn't be like, we think these are more signs of, say, like Asperger's, or whatever. It's not called Asperger's anymore.
Right. That got lumped in the update to the DSM-5. So I was talking to my mom about it. She happened to call while I was driving down to the assessment. So I was stopping to get, I again, because I have ADHD and I know time is an issue, I get places habitually early.
Ditto. Because
I know it can be a problem. So it's like, well, let me solve the problem. I would rather show up a place an hour early and have to, play Sudoku on my phone for 45 minutes than risk being late. So
it's an issue I can take out of the equation.
Yeah. So I'm talking to my mommy about it, and she's like, oh, what are you up to? I was like, I'm actually driving to get an autism assessment. And she's like, really? And I was like, yes. And then she's like talking about it. And my mom, when on Ren's podcast, I talked about this, and I mentioned, to word it politely, has a different relationship with medical science than I do in terms of like what she's down with. But even my mother, who, when I told her I have ankylosing spondylitis, she's like, I don't think you have that. I was like, there's a genetic test that I got and I have it, and that's why my back hurts all the time. But when I told her I was getting the autism assessment, she's like, good for you, sweet. And it's, when we did the Daddy-O show at the Emmaus, I mentioned it on stage, and my parents were there, and I realized it's like, I don't think I've talked about it with them yet, actually. But my mom was like more open about it than I thought she might be, and was like receptive. She was like, "Oh, so like I guess it's different than when you were little," because she's like, "I don't think you would have gotten diagnosed with it as a child." And then she's like, "Well, maybe Asperger's," which again,
Mm.
like problematic name, the Dr.
Mhm.
Asperger piece of shit. But now she's like, "Well, that seemed more like you than like."
Mhm.
When she ran a daycare center and there was an autistic child that we watched that again I apologize if severely autistic is not the correct,
Yes.
but
Yes.
like I would say stereotypically autistic uh is what maybe like my mom is thinking, like when she hears
Yeah.
autism, that is the image that she has. And she's like, "Well, you weren't that." And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Well, you were a weird kid." And
Mm.
so she was like pretty open about it, which I appreciated. Thank you, mommy. Um, but so I'll
It's a benefit. It is a benefit to have parents that provide support as far as
truly,
that goes.
and it, I wasn't, my parents are very supportive and always have been of like my comedy and whatever weird artistic endeavor. I almost slipped up and said autistic endeavor, which thankfully turns out to also be true. Um, but when I was talking to her about it and she's like being very supportive, I was like, "Oh, this is nice." And then I told her the results,
Mhm.
and then I told her the reasons, and she's like, "That doesn't make any sense." And
Yeah.
sh- everyone's reaction has been, I tell them, "It's like, I got my results. They said I'm not autistic because I am married, have ADHD, and I am very smart." And they're like, "What does that have to do with whether or not you're autistic?" I was like, "Right? Right? It doesn't.
And
It
you have
doesn't."
meaningful relationships. Yeah.
Um, it's insane. So like I was trying to say before,
Mhm.
I think I was open to the idea that I'm not, right? Like if she came back and she's like, "You're not autistic. It is, these are the reasons." Because I started wearing tinted glasses. I've been going gradually darker, but I started wearing tinted glasses. I talk about it on stage as a migraine
Mhm.
thing because bright lights tend to trigger a migraine. Turns out oversensory stimulation in autistic people can trigger a migraine.
Mhm.
Um, and since I started, I have of now variety of noise canceling headphones and earbuds that I keep with. I have at least the little buds at all times. So like if it's a place that's loud and crowded, they go in. I'm not even necessarily listening. I had them in for most of the cruise. Wasn't listening to stuff most of the
Mhm.
time. It's just the cruise ship is pretty loud. You're walking around. There's one band playing over here. There's another band playing down there. There's people running around screaming. It's like, yeah, it's just noisy. So let me pop these in. Um, so if the reasons made sense, I'd been like, hey, you know what? I guess I'm not. Okay.
Mhm.
But uh, the reasons don't make any sense. And I asked, I replied, I waited a little bit so it wasn't just like all caps scream typing. Um, but we got off the call. She could tell I kind of shut down after
Mhm.
her telling me I wasn't autistic. Oh, the other reasons I was trying to remember. She said you could maintain eye contact
Mm.
and you didn't do any repetitive motions. Uh, you know me fairly well.
Mhm.
Again, just because of how far away we live from each other, we don't spend a
Mhm.
lot of time physically around each other. How would you rate my eye contact? Do I look you in the eyeballs a lot when we're speaking?
50-50, but I think a large part of it is knowing that that is something you are working on. And that is also something that I want to make sure someone that I'm talking to on my end is having comfortability. So,
Right.
and
So
they
what
feel safe. Yeah.
the way I describe and thank you for answering genuinely. The
Hmm.
way I do is like, no, I know I'm supposed to make it,
Hmm.
so I will check it. Like I was
You'll check
so
in.
the guy I see about ADHD, we do it
Hmm.
over Zoom, and even he mentioned he's like, you don't make eye contact on these video calls, and I was like, I know, but like I occasionally look over because I know I'm supposed to, And it's like, I don't want to. I would much rather just like look down. But on Zoom, it's easier because like eye contact, I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the green dot on my laptop. That is eye contact. So
I agree with what Don just wrote. I think that is the second half of that sentence is
I'm gonna pop it up on this.
yeah, is what I agree with. Don wrote, I might have autism and I think I make too much eye contact sometimes because I know eye contact is supposed to be polite. I feel the exact same way. That's one of the
Yes.
only reasons I do it. It's kind of like handshakes. Don't need to really do it.
Yeah.
but
Oh, I would rather not shake your
Yeah.
hand. Thank you very much. But
we don't need to touch.
it's so masking is the term in autism where it's
Yes.
like you're basically trying to pretend to be normal. And that's why the fact that they did the ADOS test, a test designed to measure autism in children, is ineffective in adults because children don't develop the skills to blend in yet because they're little and they have not interacted with many people. And it's like, yeah, no, I've met enough people. And I remember in film school hearing a professor be like, oh, when you're talking to somebody at like an industry event, make sure you're making eye contact with them because if you're looking around the room, it looks like you are looking for someone more important to talk to.
Mm.
So I got a literal lesson in an educational setting of like, hey, you need to look people in the eyes or they'll think you're being rude. So
Mhm.
it's like, okay, I don't want to, but I don't want them to think I'm being rude. So I
Or flaky or disinterested.
yeah,
Yes,
or
these
not
are,
paying
yeah.
attention. And it's in The Social Network, right? I understand we're not supposed to relate to Mark Zuckerberg in the movie, but the part where he's being interviewed and the lawyer is like, "Do I have
Do
your
I
full
have your
attention?"
attention?
And he's like, "No." That is some of the hardest me relating to a character that has ever happened watching a movie of just like, yeah, no one at any given time has my full attention.
But
Some
you
people
don't
get
think that is
more of it than
also
others.
as creatives? Because obviously Zuckerberg to some level was a creative, maybe not uh, not we're not going to spiral into a conversation about him, but as a creative, do you think because you're having to use energy in so many other ways and also as a father, as a caregiver, that like in certain situations you're like, I can get by with partially existing right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a choice, but it's also preservation.
Yes. For me to give something my full attention is exhausting, whether that
Yeah.
is a person, a task, whatever. And like ADHD, so you and I have worked on projects together, right? And it's like, I'm sure you have frustration with like, sometimes it takes me longer to do a simple thing
No.
than
You
it
know why?
probably should.
You'd hear it from me. If something were irking me, I'd just be like, "Hey man, like can we really get serious about this?"
Well,
Like, but
I'll
it
use
hasn't gotten to
I'll
that
use the
point.
vinyl release as an
Oh,
example.
but not frustrated. Because I know
I
I'm
don't.
the one person that wants it. And
I
I'm not gonna
think.
make you be like, "Hey, do this thing for me because
I
it's
don't
what
think
I
you're
want."
sitting there stewing and be like, Glenn,
Okay.
fucking tickle, just get this goddamn thing done. But it's like you've reminded me a few times,
Uh-huh.
and not in a way it's like, God fucking, I know about it's genuinely helpful. But
Yeah.
I explained at the time where it's like, hey, I shot my kid's
Mhm.
school play and I had to edit that. And it's like I can really only
Yeah.
have one project going at a time. Where that is a fairly recent realization of like I can get stuff done if I do it one at a time. I
You
can
think I'm gonna
multitask.
get upset
I don't
by
think upset's
by
really the
asking
right
you to
word.
get or frustrated or annoyed because
I'm
you're
sure
doing
you would
something you're
love it
making
if it was done.
$0 for? Yeah,
Yeah,
but not
but
but again,
I don't think you're
yeah.
mad. I just think
No, it's just something I'm like, I know where like it's something I'm gonna keep reminding you on until it gets
yeah,
to the point in your priorities where you're able to do it. Like, yeah, that's
but I think because part of it was like we were working on it and then there was a problem. There was a
there was a
reason we couldn't.
possibility that Trauma was gonna pay for
Yes, then there was
an
a
immediate
reason,
printing, and then that
and
never
then
happened because it's Trauma.
yeah, and then they didn't put the money up to like print a run, but there's
Yes.
another way to do it. But then there was an issue with like the number of tracks.
Yep.
And then in the time it took to figure out how we go ahead, then I had shot the kids' school play, and then I was
Other
going.
priorities came up of things that need your attention before the thing you were not getting paid for did not like you're putting it together and you are making it way better with your artistic decisions.
I mean,
But it's not
that's
a passion for you. It's me just being like, I want to buy a vinyl of my own thing that I made.
which is a neat thing, and I understand. And I will actually.
But that is it. That is literally.
I don't remember the site. When I get around to finishing it, we'll talk about it on the show.
Okay.
But there'll probably be a vinyl release of probably the first album for me, if anybody.
Oh, that is awesome.
Because it's print on demand. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not money up front. It is some time to get it sorted. But I don't have any more CDs of it.
I am not getting CDs anymore. I am at the point where I think I'm just going to give the CDs that I have
might be
away
done as well. I have quite a few of World Crime League left.
More people have taken postcards with a QR to scan to get my socials. And I'm like, I think that's what I'm going to do. I know that doesn't sell. Like, I mean, you can say, give whatever and take it, blah, blah, blah. But like, more people have taken those, have scanned the QR code, and have asked me to sign them than anybody's shown any interest in CDs.
I still sell CDs once in a while. But there's an initial boring record label talk. There's an initial push of people pre-ordering the CDs when you're releasing one, but that's it. That is probably going to be 95% of your CD sales.
Yes.
I don't mean you specifically.
No, it was. I'm just saying that is in my experience.
With Crime League, because I released it on YouTube and I wanted to push everyone to YouTube first and exclusively for a while. I didn't do CDs before it came out. I did it like a year later or 6 months, whatever. So, and there's additional tracks. There's stuff that I cut from the YouTube special that are on there, but people don't buy it because there's stuff. They're just like, they like the show. They want to support me, whatever. They'll buy the CD. So I think next one, I might do a pre-order run of CDs, and then that's probably going to be it.
That's it. Do like a boutique run.
Yeah. Or just do the vinyl thing. I'm like, look, if you really want a physical copy of this thing.
You got a record player if you got a CD player.
Yeah. And because you can just get the digital download. That's what you're listening to anyway. But so the eye contact thing. These were the glasses I was wearing for the assessment. I'm under fairly bright light, so you can see my eyes pretty well.
Yeah.
They are. So I've done a joke. My other glasses were tinted before this, but not enough for me. Like I didn't think they helped, and I was doing a joke about it because I think.
Oh, I love wearing sunglasses, so I don't have to feel like that I need to make eye contact.
Yes, that's one of the things that I love about them. But I was doing a joke about my glasses being tinted, and enough people were like, "Your glasses don't look tinted." And I was like, no, they are. I paid extra, like you, and I would compare them to my other pair, which aren't. And they're like, oh, I guess they are a little bit, but they don't read tinted from stage. But also they weren't dark enough that I felt the tint was helpful. So I got these, and I wear these around most of the time now. I don't like wearing them on stage because I do think it makes me look like a jerk to roll up in tinted glasses. I've been
really trying to figure out a way to wear but I was like, oh, I'm just going to look like Mitch Hedberg if I just wear these.
That's part of it too. But with it's now the hour. Is it July 16th yet? No.
July
All right.
10th.
So next week.
This is releasing on the 13th.
Yeah.
The 11th. Tomorrow. This releases tomorrow. Holy smokes.
Next week, I think I can finally talk about the thing that I'm not allowed to talk about until July 16th, because I think that's when we're recording.
Hell yeah.
But the hour that I'm doing, the Glen Tickle Tries to Be a Person thing, which started out with this list of like how to be a better comedian, which is now largely becoming a show about autism. I haven't decided if I'm going to wear these the whole time or just have them and talk about them, because if we're, I'm under a bright light, I'm fairly close to the camera. You can see I have eyes. Right? They're not full on sunglasses, but they're fairly dark. If you're seated across a table from me doing an autism assessment, you can probably see my eyes. I know I was not maintaining eye contact with this
Mhm.
woman just out of habit, but I know I'd do the thing where it's like I would look at you occasionally and then look
Check in.
away to be
Yeah.
comfortable, and then a couple minutes go by and it's like haven't looked at the lady in a while. Oh, here's another thing,
Mhm.
and then I look away. I've had 3 face-to-face interactions with this woman, 2 virtually, 1 in person. It was not until the 3rd one that I realized she had a lazy eye.
Because of the infrequency of you making eye contact.
And again, I'm not making fun of
Yeah.
the lazy eye.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if I was maintaining eye contact with you, I
Yes.
would have noticed it weeks ago.
And also, you can't maintain eye contact. So maybe this is one thing you don't get to judge on the form.
Now, she filmed it and conferred with a colleague. The colleague watched the video. The video was shot on an iPhone. I'll conservatively say was 15 feet away from me.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way in hell. I'm going to back up real quick. Further than this, but I can't back up anymore.
Yeah.
Can you see my eyes right now, friend?
I can, but because of how far back you are and the scope, and I understand scope.
I had my
being someone who
headphones
does
off.
vision. I could, but understanding scope and how that works, I would never have the assuredness of understanding if someone's eyes were making contact with someone
Yeah.
within this wide of a scope or not.
Like I said, so the camera was further away.
Yeah.
I don't know how zoomed in or anything.
Yeah, you can't tell if
There's no way someone watching that video could tell if I was making eye contact.
It's literally why in film that you do punch-ins
Yeah.
and you do close-ups and
Correct.
you fake eye contact.
Now, the other thing she said was I wasn't doing any repetitive motions. And when I told that to my wife, she goes,
Well, you were jorking it under the table.
I told my wife, they said I maintained eye contact and that I wasn't doing repetitive motions. She's like, "Bud, you do not maintain." My wife doesn't either,
Yeah.
but she's like, "You do not maintain eye contact with people." And I refuse to believe you were not doing repetitive motions. I see you do repetitive motions all the time. And so right now, right, we're cropped right here. My hands are under the table.
My shirt isn't any longer than this. That's right. We already took off our shirts. I can't lie about that.
My hands were under the table for most of the assessment. So there's a couple different repetitive motions. Just again, I wasn't trying to perform autism for this woman. So it wasn't like, oh, I better make sure
face.
I better make sure I'm leaving my hands where she can see them so that she can see me do this for the 2 hours. This is a thing that I do a lot. I also, when I get like, if this one comes up a lot, if I'm walking and then suddenly somebody is in front of me and they're going too slow, it is this thing, or cracking my knuckles, going like this. This is another big one. And there's a few, and it's like, I was absolutely doing those. What are you talking about? And then I remembered she's across a goddamn table from me.
Mm-hmm.
She's not seeing, she can't see my hands.
How big of a table are you talking about? Like Batman, like Vicky Vale and
no,
Michael
not like the
Keaton?
Citizen
Like,
Kane.
okay.
Just like a
Not
like
a boardroom table.
like a desk size table.
Okay.
She couldn't see my hands under the table, and my hands are sitting there
now
going
with
like
that lazy
this.
eye.
I'm sitting there going like this under the table, or like drumming on my legs, a thing that I do a lot.
You can see an arm movement.
My knees bounce constantly. And then I was like, oh, well, the camera was about, again, 15 feet away from where I was seated.
Do that thing where you back up again all the way. I'll see if I can.
On a tripod, higher than eye level.
Yeah.
So it's shooting down.
A little bit of an angle,
shooting down at me at the table.
Interrogation style.
I contest that the angle of the video, you could also not see my hands. They would have been blocked by the table.
Yeah, the angle of the dangle.
So for them to say you maintained eye contact and you didn't do repetitive motions, I was like, well, I can disprove that. You have the video. I guarantee you I was either you can either see that I was not maintaining eye contact,
And you just know she's like, we got another one where they just want to prove that they're autistic.
and I was doing repetitive hand motions, but you can't see it on the video. Send me a copy of the video.
Mm-hmm.
And she said no.
Is there something legally or?
This is the issue I now face. She said, because the ADOS is a proprietary test that is copyrighted, we can't release the video. And I said, I replied, I was like, proprietary or not, this is still a medical test that was done on me and used to make a decision. Therefore, I have legal right to access it under HIPAA. And I've not heard anything back. But that is the current state of things. I'm like, look, I understand.
God, are you gonna queue up the tape if you get it in time for the show? That like, if you end up,
dog,
Oh.
for sure.
oh, I can't wait. I love a theater. I love a
Put
spectacle.
the whole goddamn thing. The thing is, so her argument, she's like, well, it's a proprietary test, so we can't release the video. I was like, no, you can't. You
to
can't.
you, but you might not be able to show it with like audio on or something.
That's the thing. And
Yeah.
so I want the whole thing
Yeah.
out of principle of, like, if you get an x-ray, you have a legal right to get a copy
Yes.
of that x-ray. If you fun fact, because eye doctors will still do this sometimes, they won't give you your prescription because they want you to order glasses from them. They are legally obligated to give you a copy of your prescription.
Well, I mean, is it too inside baseball, but are you working on anything where you correlate requesting a tape and like if you'd have known, you'd have set up like at an open mic or at a show that you're on,
I would have
you'd have
just
set up
done
your
it.
camera.
You know how when you get to a club and they're like, oh, the camera's back there, we're filming a set, and you're like, oh, great, then I don't have to.
Yeah.
It was that. I would have recorded it.
Do you? But can you think you can incorporate that, or is that too inside baseball?
I might. We'll see. But so I'm furious about this whole situation. Like, genuinely angry in a way that I don't usually. Anger's not a big one for me. Like, I don't get angry about a lot of stuff. I get frustrated. I get irritated. My friend Andy has said, he's like, because it came up. This
is a subject frequently we've been talking about with Anna for a good year. Is when she says
how little I get angry. That's weird.
She's like, Glen Tickle does not get angry, and I was like, why are you coming up with ways to do it, Anna? And she's like, first one. I'm like, oh my god, this is a Phineas and Ferb like master plan. But no, is that she'll be like, mommy or daddy, you're angry, you're gonna be angry at me, or you're angry at me. I'm like, honey, man, I could maybe tell you like 3 times in my life that I have been genuinely angry, and it ain't ever gonna be because of something you do or say.
I don't know about never, but it's like,
I'm happy putting that out there.
I get frustrated. Like, if you drop a bowl of cereal on the floor and I have to clean it up, like,
annoyed, frustrated,
I'm annoyed,
perturbed.
right? I might be I'm not like angry at you. It's like, no. I'm annoyed that I have to clean this up.
Yes.
I don't feel, but like, this is like genuine anger in a way that I don't feel a lot. And the line that I came up with Ren on his show was like, so at that point it had been less than a week, I think.
Fresh anger.
So for almost a week, I've been like feeling this anger that I don't usually experience. I don't like it, and I don't know how to process it. And I think it would be easier to deal with this anger if I wasn't so fucking autistic.
If I had the basic abilities.
And that's another one where it's like, I have to say fucking autistic. Like,
yes,
the way
that's right. The
way I say goddamn on Crime League, it's like, it's got to be in there. Like, it sells the line in a way that I don't think
Jerry. It sells the line, Jerry.
Oh yeah, I'm like, who the fuck is Jerry?
You know, our Lord and Jerry Savior.
Yes.
Our Seinfeldian Savior.
Yeah. So I want a copy of this tape. And she's like, no, it's proprietary. So I came back and mentioned HIPAA, but it's like, I will file a complaint with the state. And I tried.
One thing about being autistic is your diligence of not letting something go.
Oh yeah, I know. It's almost like I have a heightened sense
Yeah.
of justice and
Yeah.
feeling being wronged.
Oh, Superman is a prime candidate if he was human. I don't know how that works for autism.
Superman?
Yes.
How so? I don't
think
see
he
it.
has. I think he has. I think masking, 100%.
Well,
I mean,
he's lit. I mean,
but
not
he doesn't wear a
literally, he doesn't wear a
mask.
physical
Yeah.
mask, but he
I mean,
puts
it's not
glasses on
Batman,
and pretends to
right.
be another person. It's
But
a
I
good
think
allegory for
Yeah.
autism, but I don't know if I would say
I
the
think
character has autism.
I don't think he has genuine relationships because of his ultimate form. I mean, this is the
He has
first.
a genuine relationship with Lois
I think like
and
with
Superman's
you-
pal Jimmy Olsen.
I do get scorched earth when stuff like that. Mike Flincham says I too get scorched earth
Yeah.
when things like that happen.
So
We do have to be wrapping up because I'm
Yes.
about to piss my pants. But I do want to end. Is there the positivity of it all that we try to end on? Is this is helping you with your art, even though you are angry currently?
Yes, I am furious. I am getting a lot of. So when it was clear that the show was moving away from focusing on the list to the list is just fucking autism traits, so now I have to talk about that. I do feel like now Glen Tickle tries to be a person is maybe a problematic title, but
I thought it was Glen Tickle tries to be a. Oh, that's right. Glen Tickle tries to be
all the
list.
qualifiers
Yeah,
are
yeah,
crossed
yeah.
out.
What about a better? What's Glen Tickle tries to be a better, and then it's all that list.
Nah.
No, okay. The semantics of it don't help.
No. But I'm blanking now and I feel bad because I know you have to piss.
That's
the
okay.
positive.
I'll just pee myself. I'll do it for you.
The outcome of it is like, yes, especially talking. We talked not on the show, but like on the phone. And didn't record it for some reason, like normies. And we talked a little bit about this.
Also, we talked like even though we did back-to-back episodes last week with Hannah and Chuck, we talked cumulatively, you and I together for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then we stayed on after to talk more about this. Because I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I've heard all this. But yeah. And then we talked on the phone.
So we talked about it quite a bit.
We talk.
Already.
Isn't that
we're actual friends?
Man,
that's why
we have
I can't be
conversations that you people who are watching or listening right now don't get to be part of because that's Ricky
autistic
and Glenn's
people
sexy
can't
time.
have friends.
No,
obviously.
This is all an act.
But I did. So the night I did a show the day I got the results, and I was like, genuine. I drove out with Aaliyah Brown and was talking to her about it.
Cathartic at all?
Yeah. Oh, Aaliyah's great.
No, but I'm saying the performance, like being able to.
No, well, because it was like it's a brewery in the middle of Pennsylvania, and it's like these people
audience.
don't want navel gazy, me being mad about medical diagnosis stuff. But the show was going well. Like they were into the show, so I slipped a little bit in the middle, and basically the line that I tried to do that I don't think they really got was
that's right. You said you're gonna try to drop something in the middle if you felt that it was a good enough vibe to like drop it on. In on it.
So I mentioned it's like, oh, I got this assessment. They told me I'm not autistic because I'm married, have ADHD, and I'm very smart. And I was like, what in the DSM-4 are you talking about? Which not the audience for DSM-4 versus DSM-5 joke. But I think people coming to a solo show where I'm largely talking about autism, I think the line will land there. But yeah, so they're wrong is essentially where I'm at. And it's like, do I bother getting another one? I really want a copy of this video and am genuinely prepared to like have a legal battle over it. Because I want to prove, even if they just send me like a silent clip, like I don't want that. I want the whole thing. I feel like I genuinely have a legal right to a copy.
Yes, you should
But
have the full copy, and if there's stipulation of they're just
right,
like
if
this
they're like,
cannot
if
be.
you can't post this
Yes.
anywhere. But also they're like, oh, the questions are proprietary. And it's like, hey, spend 2 seconds on Google. They're all on there.
Yeah,
I posted the PDF on my Threads account
yeah,
that you're using. It's all out there. So just
Yeah.
send me the goddamn tape. But the main thing I want out of it is the angle to show you clearly can't see if I'm making eye contact, and you can't see my hands under the table doing the repetitive motions that you say I'm not doing.
you got to do that. You got to that lazy eye build up. It's too good of a joke.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like, I'm trying to figure out, I
Yeah.
don't,
It
I want to
works.
make it clear.
You do not come off mean.
I'm not making fun of the fact that this woman has a lazy eye. It is
Yes.
just the fact that I spoke to you in a 45-minute Zoom meeting and sat across from you for 2 hours. And the only time I noticed it was the third time we met on Zoom. What are you talking about maintaining eye contact? How dare you?
Yeah. No, I think if the exact way that you presented in this conversation, you had me, and I didn't question the meanness of it. Because even like if it's like, well, all right, friends
Yeah.
can be crass with one another. It's like I was like, nope. And when you said the punchline, which I wasn't expecting one about her lazy eye,
Yeah.
because I didn't think you were telling me a bit, which it's not. You just told me
It's
how
not.
it was.
It's true.
It was
She does.
if you watch back the video here, if you look at how you said it, then that was perfect, and I think it will destroy.
We'll see. But I want that video, and
Yes.
I'm like
Release
doing,
the video. Release the Glen cut. Release the tickle cut.
I'm doing like legal research. I read.
Can I
HIPAA.
hashtag? Can I
Release the tickle cut? Absolutely.
release the tickle cut?
I read HIPAA last night, and I was like, I think I'm right. I think you have to give it to me. And she's like, well, it's proprietary. I was like, I don't think that matters here. I think HIPAA trumps copyright law. Like, what are you talking about? It is a medical test that was used to. That's the wording. In
Unless
HIPAA,
you signed a thing.
I signed a thing
stated-
that says they're allowed to film it, or I think I might have verbally said on the thing, I'm like, you can film this. I don't know if I signed it. But it is not like I can't request her notes, right? That is like a protected thing. But the assessment, like the wording in HIPAA is like tests or assessment used to make a medical decision about a patient. They have a legal right to access. So it's like, give me the goddamn video. And like a normal person wouldn't then put the video up on YouTube. And it's like, I understand that they might be like, oh, well, Glen's absolutely going to do this. And I might.
Her not giving you her notes is her own personal notes to then do her assessment. And then
there's a
give
few
you the
exceptions to
findings.
like what you can get a copy of through HIPAA, and like a therapist's notes are literally one of them. If it's like assessments for a legal proceeding, I think that was the other one. But nothing about, oh, well, the questions they were asking you were copyrighted. So it's like, yeah, I don't, send me the video or you're gonna get a letter from the state that you have a HIPAA violation.
God, what if they tell you they deleted the video?
I think that's illegal. Genuinely.
Ooh, God, this could be
I don't
getting
know.
juicier and juicier. You might not even be able to do the show.
Here's what we do: we Ocean's 11 that tape.
Fuck yeah, I'm in.
We got to get a team together.
Yeah, can I be the Jet Li of the team? Just like cramped up in a
Can
box. No, well, here, this is the one way I'll be okay
Also,
with me.
that was not Jet Li, but
you're right.
I forget his name.
Let me while I'm looking
It's
it up.
It's messed up that you called him Jet Li. It's messed up that I knew exactly what you were talking about.
No, that's not messed up.
Neither of us are coming off great here.
I said the one. No, you don't have to throw yourself under the bus. I said the one Asian person in the movie. You knew exactly who I was talking about. Also fitting in a small box, so I took.
Yeah. I mean, you would be better at that than me.
Getting in a small box.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say I wouldn't be, but this is the one instance that I would be okay dying for a gag. Was that like it's like a 3-day trip to like break in, like that's when the plan starts, and I'm in this tiny like wastebasket like box like trash thing that they're pushing along, and the big thing's supposed to be like on the 3rd day when it's late at night. You bust it open, and I come out, and you bust it open, and just like
you're just dead in there,
just Weekend at Bernie's, and you're just like, oh no, boy, it smells terrible.
I did stop myself from doing a joke reply when she said no to the video request.
Good job.
Because she's like, oh, well, no, it's proprietary, so we can't release it. And the reply I wanted to give was, Right. You wouldn't want all your secrets about getting out about how bad you are at diagnosing adult autism.
Well, I mean, they probably push back like so much for that very reason.
Yeah. But again, I think there's a Reddit subthread or subreddit about like people asking legal advice questions.
Yeah.
So I put one up under the burner account. I was like, hey, I think I'm right here, but like I have access to this video under HIPAA, right? And then all the replies were like, HIPAA's not about you accessing it; it is just about them not sharing it. And I was like, that's not true. Read the law. What? Don't answer if you don't know what you're talking about.
So the actor is not Jet Li, as you.
I know.
It's Shabo Yen.
Shabo Yen, you're great in that movie, bud.
He is fantastic. And he also appears in Ocean's 8, which, not for the reasons that John Mulaney accurately said, was not a good movie.
I went and saw it in theaters. I don't remember
Mike
much of
Flinchum
it.
said it was obviously Jackie Chan. All right.
That one's messed up.
That's how we're gonna end it. That's
right,
how
we're gonna end it one day. But yes, I've been getting a lot out of complaining about this for the show, so that's a positive note. But
And
again,
we're
they're
all
wrong.
with you,
I'm
Gep.
furious.
I'm
I
so sorry,
have to
but I
apparently
think
consult a lawyer.
you're gonna get gold. This is gonna be.
But
gold.
again, I don't. If she's like, all right, fine, you're autistic, just go away. Does that?
That's not what this is about anymore.
Does that
I need
settle
that
it for
tape.
me? I don't know anymore. I want the
No.
I want the tape. I want the tape.
Release the tickle cut.
Release
the tickle tape. Release the tickle tape.
All right.
That's the hashtag. I'm doing it.
Hang on. I forgot to pull the outro
It's the
up.
Daddy-O show.
It's the Daddy-O